Welcome to Airchecks. For the next few weeks, we will be focusing on Christmas in radio. Jonathan Thomas and His Christmas on the Moon is a daily children's series that ran between Thanksgiving and Christmas in 1938. The story begins with 6-year-old Jonathan Thomas lying in bed on Christmas Eve with his teddy bear Guz. While he is lying in bed, two elves slide down a moonbeam into his room. Guz, his teddy bear, chases the elves back up the moonbeam and Jonathan Thomas follows in order to get his Guz back. Upon reaching the moon, Jonathan Thomas meets the man in the moon and his horse Gorgonzola. After being accused of kidnapping Santa Claus, the troop is commanded to bring back him in time for Christmas. On their adventure, they confront an evil witch, a dragon with 13 tails, and they meet several characters from the Lewis Carroll classic Alice in Wonderland. Will they be able to rescue Santa Claus from the Squeebubblians in time to save Christmas? Find out by listening to this exciting series prepared especially for children.
The story of Jonathan Thomas and His Christmas on the Moon. This is the story of a wee little boy who has just turned 6, and his name is Jonathan Thomas. And what happened to him is not just fiddlesticks, for right here's where we make the promise. It could have happened to you if you were not you, but instead were Jonathan Thomas, who said his prayers every night upstairs and jumped into bed clear up to his head and snuggled and juggled and ruggled and juggled, 'cause Christmas was not very far off, and was as good as he could, as all other boys would, if Christmas were coming so soon. For if he was bad and not merry and glad, his dad would not like such a lad, and be sad, and even a bit mad, and not read fairy tales in his room, where the moon disgustingly listened to his weepings and wails. But here is the story, and it's true, don't you worry, 'cause remember, I made you the promise. It's as true blue, and could have happened to you, if it hadn't happened to Jonathan Thomas. You see, the big grandfather clock in the hall had just struck 8, and Jonathan Thomas had had his bath and said his prayers and kissed Mummy and Nan and then taken the hand of his dad, and up the stairs they went. 1, 2, button your shoe, 3, 4, shut the door, until they were to where you say 11, 12, the kitchen shelf, and then down the hall and in the room and whisk into bed.
Now, pull the covers up so you won't catch the sneezels.
Daddy.
What is it?
Mommy said if I were to brush my teeth 4 times, you were to speak a story.
Well, now, and did you brush your teeth that many times?
Uh-huh.
Then what shall the story be about?
About Jonathan Thomas and Guz.
Jonathan Thomas and Guz?
Uh-huh.
Well, once upon a time, there was a little boy...
Wait, Daddy.
Hmm?
Guz has got to hear, too. And he can't if he's under the covers.
Oh, well then, by all means, we must haul him out from under the covers. But Guz would be as angry if he didn't hear the story. And he'd probably cry until his sawdust got wet. There now. Now, let's sit him up on the pillow, and we'll twist one ear a little further forward, so he'll have no difficulty in hearing. Now then, are we ready?
Uh-huh.
Well, once upon a time, there was a wee little boy who had just turned 6, and his name was Jonathan Thomas. And he had a beautiful stuffed teddy bear named Guz. And one night, when Jonathan Thomas went to bed away upstairs, after he'd brushed his teeth, and when he was tucked in with Guz by his side, and when he was asleep, a long, slender moonbeam made of pure silver came through the window, like that. And down the moonbeam came sliding 2 of the queerest creatures you ever did see, like that. And there they were, laughing and chuckling and giggling and poking their fingers at Jonathan Thomas, who was sound asleep as he could ever be. But right away, quick as 46 tigers, Guz opened his left eye, and then his right eye, and he saw the creatures, and then he opened his mouth, and went, and he jumped from the bed right after those creatures, and those creatures ran up the moonbeam, and Guz ran after them, barking like everything, or woofing, or whatever koala bears do. And all this noise woke up Jonathan Thomas. and he saw Gus running up the moonbeam, and he jumped right out of bed and right up the moonbeam after Gus, shouting as loud as ever he could.
Gus, come back, Gus. Ooh, what a very strange place. Maybe I'd better knock on this door. Oh, hello.
Oh, well, goodness gracious, my land and Jiminy Crickets. Whatever do you mean by knocking on my door when the sign plainly says absolutely no knocking until after 9 o'clock daylight saving moon time? Where are you? I mean, who are you? I don't see your name written on you anywhere. Well, speak up. Or has the cat got your tongue? If he has, we'll write him a letter and tell him to bring it back straight away quicker than you could say Jack Robinson. Isn't that silly of me? If the cat really got your tongue, you couldn't say Jack Robinson, could you?
My name is Jonathan Thomas.
Oh, what a silly name. Thomerson Jonas. Oh, then, never mind. We can't all have beautiful names like Squamboozle or Flimfuddle, can we? I had a grandfather once.
Have you seen Gus?
Have I seen... Don't change the subject. Who's Gus?
He's my teddy bear, and he ran away.
Well, then why don't you go there and look for him instead of pestering me? Don't stand there in the doorway. Either come in or stay out. Yes, you'll have to do one or the other, you know. You can't do both at the same time. It's against the law.
If you please, sir, I'll come in.
What a silly thing to say, young man. It's not if I please, but if you please. Yeah. Have you had your breakfast?
Oh, no, sir,
Well, then who did have it if you didn't?
No one, I don't think.
You mean no one you do think. For if no one did have it instead of you, you'd know it. And if I were you, I shouldn't let no one have it again. Mr. No One's getting entirely too many breakfasts lately. Yep. Will you have breakfast with me?
Oh, I should like that very much if you don't mind.
Well, of course, I don't mind, except for old King Cole. Yeah, and I have to mind him or he'll throw me in jail for 1,000,000,000,000,000 years. And then, what would you like for breakfast?
Oh, I like just anything.
Well, I haven't got any of that. You shouldn't go around wanting things that people haven't got. Yep. But I can give you oatmeal porridge and cream and some squaffles and baconate.
Oh, thank you very much. That sounds the bestest of anything.
Well, of course it does. Yep. I don't think I like anything very well myself much, unless it's cooked just right. Well, now, come along. It'll be too late for breakfast. You'll have to eat lunch instead. That would be
Oh, I'm as full as 2 times 2. That was the bestest breakfast I ever ate. Oh, but I wish Gus was here. Do you expect we could find him?
Well, I suppose we can. If you know where he is.
But I don't know.
Well, then how on the moon do you expect to find him if you don't know where he is? Of course, it might be that the Squibboblins have him.
Who?
Only owls say, who? Haven't you ever heard of the Squibboblins? They're always catching something. A long time ago, they caught little Bo Peep's sheep. And they never brought him back. And only last Tuesday, I had a cold. Oh, it was a beautiful cold. And they caught that. And I haven't seen it since. They're a most dreadful people.
Are they? Oh, you expect they caught Gus?
Well, I shouldn't be at all surprised. But I sometimes am.
Oh, I hope not. Because next to my mommy and dad, I love Gus the bestest.
Yeah. Shh. Do you hear anything?
Of course I do. There's somebody at the door.
Oh, my goodness, I thought so. Now I'll have to say come in, for I can't say stay out, for whoever it is already out. So I'll have to say come in.
Well, can't you just say nothing at all?
I don't know. I've never tried. What does it mean? Oh, dear. I'll just have to say come in. Yes, I will. Come in! Oh, so it's you, is it?
Yep.
Well, what do you wish? And you can't have more than 3 wishes.
If you please, Mr. Man in the Moon, I have brought great news.
Well, let me see it.
I have come to tell you that you had better hide, because the wretched Squibbobles are coming. And now I have to go and tell everybody else. Goodbye.
Oh, my goodness, the squee bubbles are coming. Oh, this is terrible. Come quickly, Jonathan Thomas. We must hide ever so fast or they'll catch us.
Where will we hide?
Well, right here, of course. Where do you suppose? If the squee bubbles come into this room, just shut your eyes and don't make a sound.
Don't we have to hide somewhere?
No, because somewhere is too far to go and we haven't time. Just shut your eyes.
Can't they see us if we shut our eyes?
Of course they can. Who ever heard of such a thing? You can't see them, can you, with your eyes shut?
No.
Well, then how can they see us if we can't see them? I'd like to know... Uh-oh. My goodness. Here they come. Now, don't forget, shut your eyes and don't make a sound.
All right. I won't.
Oh. One more thing. If they should ask if anyone's here, tell them no. Shut your eyes now, quick.
Can you see anyone in here, General?
Oh, I can't see a soul. They must all be hiding.
You'd better ask and see.
Yes, sir. Is anyone in here?
No. We haven't seen him all day.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
You're extremely welcome.
There's no one here, General. You might as well leave. Oh, goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye. Oh, my goodness. That was a narrow escape. So narrow I could hardly squeeze through it. Well, you can open your eyes now, Jonathan Thomas.
Didn't they see us?
Of course not. How could they? You had your eyes shut all the time, didn't you? Oh, my goodness. There's more of it. Come in.
Quick, away. The Squibobbiums have kidnapped Santa Claus.
Kidnapped Santa Claus?
And we must rush to rescue him right away. Quick, away.
Oh, my goodness. Hurry, Jonathan Thomas. We must rush to the rescue. Santa Claus has been kidnapped. Oh, and there won't be any Christmas unless we rescue him. Come on, Jonathan Thomas. We must hurry like everything, only faster.
Well, it isn't very long until Christmas, and Santa Claus has been kidnapped. Will Jonathan Thomas and the Man in the Moon be able to find him in time? And what about Gus? Where is he? Don't forget to listen to the next adventure of Jonathan Thomas. Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you want to hear about Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. Jonathan Thomas, who has just turned 6, got himself in a terrible fix. He went to bed at 8:30, which isn't early, nor is it late. And he went to sleep with his teddy bear, Gus. He never could sleep without Gus, because... Well, then when the chime on the clock struck 9, and when it would seem he had begun to dream, a beam from the moon came into his room, and 2 funny people named Ezra and Jeeple slid down and started to frown at Jonathan Thomas and Gus. Well, then Gus woke up and chased them up, as any teddy bear should do, and then Jonathan Thomas, he woke up too, because he heard the fuzz that was made by Gus. And he joined the chase to the funniest place since the world began. And pretty soon he met a man who turned out to be, as he could plainly see, the Man in the Moon. Then pretty soon, when he was in his room, there was the awfulest noise, even worse than boys can make with their toys, and he got more scared than he dared or cared to let on, 'cause Gus was gone. And he sighed and nearly cried, and if he had, it wouldn't have been bad, and do you know because? The Squibobblums had kidnapped Santa Claus.
Mr. Man in the Moon.
Oh, for goodness sakes, stop calling me Mr. Man in the Moon.
Oh, but I thought that was your name.
Oh, how very silly. If it's your name, how could it be mine?
But it isn't, because my name is Jonathan Thomas.
That's a fibber, because my name isn't Jonathan Thomas. My name's nothing of the sort, and I'll be pleased if you'll call me that from now on.
Yes, sir. Thank you, please, Mr. Nothing of the Sort, but could maybe I ask you a question?
I don't know. Have you ever tried it?
Please, Mr. Nothing of the Sort, why do we have to come here to Old King Cole's court?
My goodness gracious, what an easy question. We come here to King Cole's court because we don't have to go there. And anybody knows that King Cole's court isn't there. It's here. There is where the old folks stay.
Oh.
Oh, what?
Just, oh? Oh, 'cause I wish we could go look for Gus.
Well, I guess there's nothing to stop us. We can look for him or 5 him or even 6 him. Well, if we have enough time. And if we haven't, Maybe we can borrow some from anybody. He's got lots of time on his hands.
Ooh, what's that?
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. This is the court of the very best sort, for it's the court of old King Cole. Let the good be good and stand as they should, and the bad make confession, for this court is now in session. His Majesty King Cole.
Oh, dear. Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else, this is the most serious moment of history. And anybody who ever studied history knows how serious that is. No. I mean to say, you all know that Santa Claus has been kidnapped. And if he isn't rescued, there won't be any Christmas this year. And you know what that means. It means that no toys for the boys, no curls for the girls, and Christmas will be very sad. That day of the year will be without cheer, no presents or candy or things, no come, all ye faithful, no carol that sings. And the day will be bad, not merry or glad, and no presents that Santa Claus brings. Thank you. Now then, I am certain that there is a traitor in our midst. There is someone in this city of oh my goodness who is a spy for the terrible squibboblums who kidnapped our dear Mr. Claus. Therefore, we are now going to hold court to find the guilty culprit. And I do hereby and herewith elect Professor I.M. Looney to act as prosecuting attorney, and the tired lion, Mr. Loudly O'Roar, to act as the defense attorney.
Thank you, Your Majesty, and ladies and gentlemen. And now, first of all, we shall proceed. Will the clerk of the court please ask Mr. Humpty Dumpty to come forth?
I think you'd better have him come first instead of fourth, Mr. Looney, so we can keep the numbers straight.
Yes, very well, Your Majesty. Will the clerk of the court please call Mr. Humpty Dumpty to the stand?
Humpty Dumpty to the stand.
Yeah, here I am.
Sit down.
Gosh.
Now then, Mr. Clerk of the Court, swear the witness.
No, listen, Your Majesty. If you brung me up here just to swear at me, I ain't going to stay. I don't like being sworn at.
I said swear the witness, Mr. Humpty Dumpty, not swear at the witness. The word at being a preposition to show the relationship between the object and the verb. And one should never end a sentence with the preposition.
Yeah, what about a jail sentence, Professor Looney?
If you please, Your Majesty. Now then, Mr. Humpty Dumpty, where were you on the evening of the second Tuesday of last week?
No place.
Aha! But can you prove it?
Nope. But I sure can recite verses.
Oh, no, don't dare, I warn you. I'll go to pieces,
In the middle of the night when the sun was shining bright and the stars merrily twinkling, no sound was around and the still was so shrill that nobody could hear for listening.
I'm going to pieces. I'm beg your no.
Well, I'm most sorry to regret that due to the fact that Professor Looney has just gone to pieces, court is now adjourned until we put him back together.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. The time has come for everyone to take their seats again. And if you fail, you'll go to jail, which is commonly called the pen. Sit down.
Call the next witness.
Yes. Jonathan Thomas to the stand. Jonathan Thomas to the stand. Where is Jonathan Thomas?
If you please, sir, I'm right here.
That's what you say. But I say that you're wrong here. And the proof
of the pudding is in the eating.
Oh, goody. Plum pudding, eh? With mint sauce, Professor Looney.
If you please, Your Majesty.
Proceed.
Yes, thank you. Now then, Jonathan Thomas, do you solemnly swear that you will fulfill the Strackdoodle of the Billwig Startlehosnix of the Truth Brasty of the Crally Dinchus of the Nidiopaskov, so help me Hannah say I do?
I do. What, if you please?
Aha! You see, Your Majesty? Evading. And all one needs is but one look at this cringing crook of crying crime, criminally conspiring scamp of cut-walling in his cataclysmic catastrophes, coarse, crass, and unchristian company would claim and consider him considerably crazy. A complete confession of contemptuousness, of contempt of court. Unquote. Now, answer my question, can you? Or can't you?
Can I what, if you please?
Aha! Evading again. Now, if you please, Your Majesty, you'll notice that he is about to cry. Trying to soothe our sympathy with silly sobs of sappy suffering, so strife will cease, and success seem to strike sorrow subservient. But I say, Your Majesty, he is guilty.
Quiet. So, it seems there's something in what you say. Proceed.
Proceed, I will. I accuse this prisoner of the bar of being a spy for the terrible Squibblums. For Santa Claus was not kidnapped until after Jonathan Thomas, alias Johnny the Gyp, alias Jonah the Jinx, arrived in our fair city of, oh my goodness, which proves it. Your Majesty, I accuse Jonathan Thomas of being responsible for Santa Claus being kidnapped, and I recommend that he be spanked by the royal spankers and also be given 2 bottles of castor oil.
But I do like castor oil.
Neither do I.
Your Majesty, I rest my jolly old case.
Oh, well, thanks, Looney, old fellow. Now, Jonathan Thomas, since you were accused of being a spy for the Squibblums, you must be one. And therefore, it is the sentence of this court that you go to the land of Squibobble and bring back Santa Claus. And if you fail, well, I don't like castor oil either. Well, poor Jonathan Thomas. And what will happen to him in the land of the terrible Squibobbles? Well, you'll certainly find out in the next chapter of the story of Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you wish to hear about Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. Well, I guess you've heard what has occurred to Jonathan Thomas and Gus, but just in case, we'll find the place where it all began. You see, Jonathan Thomas was a wee little tad who was never too good or never too bad. And Gus was the bestest of all teddy bears. And one night, when they went away upstairs to bed, after his dad had said good night, and after his eyes had closed up tight, and 2 little elves slid down and looked around, then Gus, that's the teddy bear, he opened his eyes, and what a surprise to see such guys from the moon. And then right soon he growled and sort of howled till the elves were afraid and wouldn't have stayed for $1 trillion. And they turned about faced, and away they raced, and Gus, he chased them up to the skies. And Jonathan Thomas, he heard their cries and opened his eyes and almost died with surprise and cried,
Dad, come back!
And then, without stopping to pack, not even his sneakers, and wearing nothing at all but just his sleepers, he chased after Gus. And he ran and ran, as only little boys can, until he came to the moon. But it seems he got there a little too soon, 'cause the terrible Squibobbliums had broken the laws and kidnapped poor old Santa Claus. And then a merry old soul who was old King Cole held a court of the very worst sort, and Jonathan Thomas, he got the blame. Of course, he tried to explain that he just had came That's not good grammar, but it rhymes with the line. And they told him they'd scold him and set him to boil and feed him 2 doses of castor oil, unless he minded the laws and brought back poor old Santa Claus. Poor Jonathan Thomas didn't know what to do. But then, neither would you if you were not you, but instead were Jonathan Thomas.
I want my Mommy and Daddy and Gus. Please, Mr. Man in the Moon, I want to go home.
My goodness gracious. How can you go home when you haven't found Santa Claus yet?
But I don't know where he is.
Oh, my, what a silly thing to say. Of course you don't know where he is. You couldn't find him if you did. How can you find someone unless someone's lost? You don't have to find the answer to that question until after you've found Santa Claus.
Old King Cold said that the terrible Squeebobulums had kidnapped Santa Claus and taken him to the land of Squeebobble. If I go there to find him, maybe they'll kidnap me, too, and gobble me up.
Yup, that's right.
Oh, but I don't want to be gobbled up. I want to go home.
Yeah. Oh, my gracious. There's someone at the door that makes me so sore I could rip and roar till my coat was tore. And what's more, quick. Think of another word that rhymes with door.
I don't know.
Of course not. I don't know rhymes with blow, show, go, and Joe. Oh, now it's a sin, and I'll have to say, come in. Oh, so it's you, is it?
Of course, it's me. As you can see, I'm Little Bo Peep, and I've lost my sheep. And I can't find them, really, I can't. I've left them alone, really, I have. But they didn't come home. Have you seen them?
Of course not.
Oh, thank you very much. Goodbye.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Seems like everything on the moon is lost these days. Yesterday, Mr. Squeezle lost his temper. He hasn't found it yet. The day before that, the grandfather's clock lost an hour. And he still hasn't found it. If this keeps up, we'll all be lost pretty soon. And then where will we be? That's what I want to know. Where will we be?
I guess we'll be lost.
Yeah, well, why, of course, that's right. Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I? Oh, but come. We'll have to hurry, or else we'll lose time. We'll have to find that, too. Oh, by the way, I've got a surprise for you, Jonathan Thomas.
Oh, I like surprises. What is it, if you please?
I just decided that I will go with you to find Santa Claus. Quote, if we both go, it'll only take half as long, unquote.
Oh, that's very kind of you, sir, because I would have been afraid to go by myself.
Oh, fiddlesticks. You don't have to go by myself to reach the land of Squeebobble. You have to go by the Rock Candy Bridge, over the Merry-Go-Round River, and then through the Canyon of the Three Dwarves.
Is it very far, if you please?
Oh, not so very. Only 1,000 miles or so. Why?
'Cause I'm little and you're big, and my legs aren't as long as yours, and my legs get tired quicker than anything.
Now, they couldn't get tired quicker than anything, because anything is always tired. And besides, we're not going to walk, we're going to ride.
Oh, that's nicer than anything. Otto?
Of course we ought to. If we didn't ought to, we wouldn't have to, would we? And we'd better hurry or we won't find Santa Claus in time for Christmas. Yep. Come on, Jonathan Thomas. First, we have to go to the stable and get Gorgonzola.
Who's he?
Why, he's my horse, of course, my beautiful horse. What else in the world could he be? The only one who can always run and never get tired of me. Yeah. Gorgonzola. A cheesy sort of a name. Yeah. He's got a red coat and he can run like a goat. Yeah. And sky blue is the color of his mane. Gorgonzola, here we come. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here we are, and there is Gorgonzola. Yep. Isn't he beautiful?
Oh, that's the funniest kind of a horse I ever saw.
Not so loud or he'll hear you and get his feelings hurt.
But he's the funniest color I ever saw. He's red and blue and green.
Of course he is. Haven't you ever heard of the horse of another color?
Oh, yes, because my daddy says that to my mommy sometimes. He says, that's a horse of another color.
Well, there he is. That's Gorgonzola. Well, come over here so you can meet him.
Does he talk?
Does he talk? Yeah. What a silly question. Of course he talks. Gorgonzola, I want you to meet Jonathan Thomas.
Hiya, J.T.
How do you do?
I do as I please. And I don't give a sneeze because I... Oh, and I'm as happy as any horse can be. Or I'm colossal. I'm stupendous. As you can plainly see.
Oh, yes, sir. Of course.
You better stand back, Jonathan Thomas. He's going into his dance. He does that every morning.
Oh, that'll be fun. I've never seen a horse dance.
Oh, a Gorgonzola's my name. A cheesy name, but just the same, I'm a beautiful horse to see. For I'm stupendous, I'm colossal. I put all others to shame. Cha-cha-cha-cha, for I'm a gorgeous horse, which you can see, and Gorgonzola is my name. Boy, oh boy, how do you like that, huh?
Oh, that was very nice, if you please.
Nice, that was colossal. It was super stupendous. Cha-cha.
Yes, sir, Mr. Gorgonzola.
Well, all right. It's time for us to leave. For anybody knows, you can't go anywhere unless you leave.
I'm ready, if you please.
Say, where was we going?
Wait, don't you know?
Why, to the land of Squee-Bubble, of course. To rescue Santa Claus, aren't we, Jonathan Thomas?
Yes, sir.
Why, to the land of Squee-Bubble. Why, that's moida. That's what it is. Plain moida. Ta-ta-ta-ta. Why don't people tell me these things? Cha-cha.
Didn't you know, Mr. Gorgonzola?
I didn't know nothing. I'm saying it's moida. That's what it is. Nothing but plain, unadulterated moida. Ta-ta-ta.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, listen, let's stop the arguing, Gorgonzola, and quit stalling in that stall. Well, you've got to hurry or we'll be late. And there won't be any Christmas then this year.
Oh, no.
Okay, I'm with you. Put J.T. on me back, and let's go.
Well, all right, Jonathan Thomas. Climb up on Gorgonzola's back. Now, sir, we're about ready to go here. Now, come on, up you go there. That's it. Now, leg over. There, down. That's fine.
Oh. Don't let me fall off, will you, Mr. Gorgonzola?
I said, hang on. Here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh, we're off to the land of Squee-Bubble. We'll run and we'll walk and we'll hobble. We'll never come back till we've taken a whack at the terrible land of Squee-Bubble.
We must hurry because we must find Santa Claus, or there'll be no Christmas this year. And things will be sad and most horribly bad, and people will cry. Oh, dear.
So we're off to the land of Squee-Bubble. We'll run and we'll walk and we'll hobble. We'll never come back till we've taken a whack at the terrible land of Squee-Bubble. We're off to the land of Squee-Bubble. We'll run and we'll walk and we'll hobble. We'll never come back till we've taken a whack at the terrible land of Squee-Bubble.
Well, there they go. Jonathan Thomas and the Man in the Moon and the beautiful horse of another color, Gorgonzola, down the road which leads to the terrible land of Squee-Bubble. But do you think they'll find Santa Claus in time? Well, we certainly hope so, don't we? And we'd better listen to the next episode and find out, hadn't we? Don't forget. Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you wish to hear about Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. If there should be some folks about who scoff and laugh and seem to doubt this story of Jonathan Thomas, of how he went upstairs one night and went to sleep with his eyes closed tight until a light from the moon came into his room and two little people named Ezra and Jeeple slid down and started to frown at Guz, that's his teddy bear, why don't you care if they laugh and sneer? 'Cause it happened, and that's a promise. It happened as true as things happen to you. And this truly happened to Jonathan Thomas. Guz growled at those elves till they were beside themselves and chased them up to the moon. And Jonathan Thomas, he chased after Guz, and he shouted to Guz to come back because he was afraid he might get lost. and pretty soon he reached the moon. He knew, 'cause it was covered with frost. But Jonathan Thomas didn't mind the cold, for he was 6 and very brave and bold. But he did get scared at a man with a beard, with the funniest face he'd seen any place. And he wished he could find Gus pretty soon, but he couldn't. So he asked the man in the moon. But then in a hurry, with a terrible flurry, there was the awfulest noise, which would scare most boys, but didn't scare him, because he got as mad as he ever had when the Squibubbles kidnapped Santa Claus. Then, what do you think? As quick as a wink, some policemen came and put the blame on Jonathan Thomas, and he went to a court of the very worst sort. It was the court of Old King Cole, who said, "Aha, now you must go, for you have broken the laws. You're a wicked spy, and you'll have to die unless you bring back Santa Claus." So Jonathan Thomas, he gave his promise, and he left the court in a terrible gloom, for he didn't know where he ought to go. And then he met the man in the moon, who said that, of course, he'd get his horse, that is, if he didn't mind, for it isn't much fun when there's only one who's got Santa Claus to find. So Jonathan Thomas, he said, "Why, yes, and what happened next you won't have to guess, for quicker than you can count up to 10, here's where the story begins again."
Squim-dum-dee, squim-dum-do, there are some things that I must know. Be it happy or be it sad, be it good or be it bad. So speak, O magic mirror, great and wise.
Ask me no questions, and I'll tell you no lies.
Alas, you wicked-looking glass, unless your sass very quickly ceases, I'll break you into a million pieces. So speak the truth, and tell to me what strangers doth appear to thee.
Oh, evil witch of Rumpelstitch, this is what I see. Beyond the road where lives the toad, there is not one, but 1, 2, 3.
Aha, forsooth, you speak the truth, O magic mirror great, and I would know as to where they go. So tell it to me straight.
They approach the river, and much I quiver to see them shiver so. For the icy stream doth plan and scheme to hold them in its course. The man in the moon, and Jonathan Thomas, and Gorgonzola, the horse.
Aha! They've come to rescue Santa Claus, but I shan't let them, because I'll call down my wrath and then laugh to see them suffer so. They'll be so afraid, they'll wish they'd stayed and never set out to go. Squim-dum-dee, squim-dum-do, it never set out to go.
Oh, we're off to the land of Squibubble. We'll run and we'll walk and we'll hobble. We'll never come back till we've taken a whack at the terrible land of Squibubble.
We must hurry because we must find Santa Claus, or there'll be no Christmas this year. And things will be sad and much horribly bad, and people will cry. Oh, dear.
So we're off to the land of Squibubble. We'll run and we'll walk and we'll hobble. We'll never come back till we've taken a whack at the terrible land of Squibubble. We're off to the land of Squibubble. We'll run and we'll walk and we'll hobble. We'll never come back till we've taken a whack at the terrible land of Squibubble.
Yeah, yeah. My gracious and Jiminy Crickets. Yeah. What a beautiful song that is.
I think it's the best song I ever heard.
Oh, it's stupendous. It's colossal. It's gigantic mammoth. And it nearly drives me frantic. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Ha-cha-cha-cha-cha.
How much farther do we have to go, Mr. Man in the Moon, if you please, sir?
Oh, just about as far as from here to there.
But if you please, sir, how long is that?
About as long as a piece of string without any knots in it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we must be careful now, because we're in the canyon of the Three Dwarfs.
Oh, it's Moida. That's what it is, nothing but plain Moida.
Oh, look, Mr. Man in the Moon. There's somebody standing over there.
Oh, my gracious to goodness to Agnes me. It's the Three Dwarfs, I think. Ask them who they are, Jonathan Thomas.
Yes, sir. Who are you, if you please?
I'm Sneasel. I'm Weasel.
I'm Beelzebub.
Who are you?
I am the man in the moon.
And I'm Jonathan Thomas.
And I'm Gorgonzola the horse.
And we're going to the land of the Sweet Bubble to rescue Santa Claus. He's been kidnapped.
Yes, and we'd be ever so grateful if you'd let us go through your canyon.
You'll have to pay to go this way.
And if you don't, you'll have to stay.
Well, of course we'll pay. How much do you want?
Each will have to pay a song. And if the song is much too long,
Or if you've learned it wrong,
you can't go through. Not one of you.
that's what you have to do.
Oh, but I don't know any songs. Well, not very good ones.
Then you'd better make one up or down, or we'll never get through the canyon.
You'd better hurry. Oh, don't you worry.
We'll leave in a scurry.
And never let you or you go through our canyon.
Well, very well, then. I'll sing mine first, yeah? Oh, I'm the man in the moon who's singing this dreadful tune. It's up to you when I get through, which I hope will be very soon. Yeah. Now it's your turn, Jonathan Thomas.
Oh, but I only know one song.
Then sing it and ring it
And swing it.
Yes, sir, if you please. A wee little fork and a knife and a spoon set out for adventure one day. The fork and the spoon to the wee little mouth of a wee little boy found their way. But the wee little knife by the side of the plate thought he had wasted his life. For somebody's mother had firmly announced that a boy mustn't eat with his knife. But the wee little boy smiled down and said, I'll use you to butter my bread. And you can't do that with a fork or a spoon. God bless you, the little knife said.
Oh, it's stupendous. It's colossal. It's gigantic.
That's a wonderful song, but a trifle too long.
But there wasn't a word that was wrong.
You pleased us so that you may go.
We cannot tell you no.
And we'll give to you this magic shoe.
So the evil witch can't trouble you.
And this magic hat, which goes with that.
We'll make them wonder where you're at.
Whenever you say scat.
Oh, thank you very much. But you shouldn't say, wonder where you're at. You should say, wonder where I am.
I'm doesn't rhyme with hat. And that's that.
You bat.
Hey, why, gracious to goodness. Run for your lives. There comes the witch.
Oh, Mr. Man in
Why,
the
it's
moon.
terrifying. That's what it is. Nothing but terrifying.
Yeah, come on, quick, Jonathan Thomas. Put on your hat and say scat, or the witch will have you, and that will be that. Come on, hurry, let's go.
Oh, do you suppose Jonathan Thomas said scat quickly enough? Or do you suppose the evil witch got him? Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. Oh, but I hope not. Don't you? Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you wish to hear about Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. There once was a lad, a wee little tad, whose name was Jonathan Thomas, who got into a fix when he was 6 because he kept a promise. You see, he went to the moon one night and got himself in a terrible fright. He was chasing Guz, because Guz ran away. Guz was his teddy bear, who thought it would pay to chase 2 elephants up to the moon, and he ran and got there soon. And he didn't get cold in spite of the frost, but what he did do was to get himself lost. Poor Jonathan Thomas nearly broke his heart, because he and Guz had never been apart, and he looked and looked, but all in vain. And when he started for home again, he knocked at a door which wasn't there before, and when it was answered, more sooner than soon, the man who answered was the man in the moon, who invited him in
and said to him, "I'll give you breakfast if you like, for you must be hungry after such a long hike." And then, quick as a wink, what do you think? Crash, bang, bing, boom, till all the people were filled with gloom. And I'll bet you can't guess what the reason was. The Squeebobliums had kidnapped Santa Claus. How the bells rang out, how the people did shout, for it was all so very sad. And then, much to his shame, they said he was to blame. By he, I mean Jonathan Thomas. Why, they called him a spy and a terrible guy, and they made him faithfully promise to obey all the laws and find Santa Claus, which was very hard to do, till the Man in the Moon said, "I'll go too." And so off they went, without baggage or tent, not walking, but riding, of course, and with never a thought of ever getting caught. They went through the land of Rimplestitch, and their trouble began. No matter how they ran, they were always pursued by a witch. But my goodness gracious, my talk is so spacious, and my words enough for 10 men. So please don't you worry, for here is the story. It's all ready to begin again.
Well, well, you old frightful old thing. What do you say?
You wicked old Man in the Moon, the day will come soon when you'll change your tune, for I'll fix up your tricks with a bag of my own, and then, ha-ha!
I'm giving you fair warning, Mrs. Witch. You'd better leave us alone if you know what's good, as indeed you should.
Attaboy, Chief. Hatcha-cha-cha. Tell her a thing or two.
You stay out of this, you awful horse, or I'll stop your words right at their source. And now, I'll tell you a thing or two. I'd be mighty careful if I were you.
Oh, yeah.
And I wouldn't laugh, or you'll raise my wrath, and then I'll work my magic. And you've probably heard that I keep my word, and my tricks are very tragic.
Just what do you want of us, Mrs. Witch?
10 minutes ago, I could plainly see there wasn't just 2 of you, but 1, 2, 3. To give you harm would bring me no joy, for what I want is that little boy.
No, 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 1,000 times no.
And I say yes, and you may well guess that I'll keep my promise, for it's very true that I'll keep haunting you till you give me Jonathan Thomas. So mumble the stick, and you'd better be quick, and tell me where he's at, or I'll get even with you with my witch's brew, which is mixed by a great black cat.
You've gone too far, Mrs. Witch, for I know what to do with you, and by Jiminy Crickets, I think I'll do it.
Go on, Chief. Give him the works. Make it stupendous and colossal.
I'm going to tweak your nose, Mrs. Witch.
Oh, don't you dare, or you'll give me a scare that'll be the death of me.
Oh, so you didn't know that I knew the secret of your nose. One tweak and it'll be the end of you, Mrs. Witch.
Oh, please, I beg on bended knees. Do not tweak my nose, for I can't bear such wear and tear. Oh, please, sir, spare my nose.
I'm very sorry, Mrs. Witch, but I warned you, and now I'm going to tweak your nose like that.
Boy, oh boy, was that a tweak? Oh, was that a tweak? She won't recover for at least a week. Oh boy. Ha-cha-cha-cha-cha.
I'm telling you, this day you'll rue, and believe you me, just wait and see.
I'm gonna kick at that remark, and when I kicks, I hits the mark. Ha-cha-cha. Watch this. And that's from me to you, from one old nag to another old hag.
Well, Gorgonzola, that was just beautiful.
That was stupendous, gigantic, colossal. That's what. Ha-cha-cha-cha.
Well, all right, Jonathan Thomas. You can take off your invisible hat now. The witch is gone. Come on, Jonathan Thomas. Where are you? Where are you?
Here I am. Right here, sir, if you please.
My goodness gracious and Jiminy Cricket, so you are.
I've been sitting here on this rock all the time. Couldn't you see me?
Of course not. You had your invisible hat on.
Couldn't nobody see me?
Of course he could if he was here, but he's not. He's there. But what happened to the 3 dwarfs? Where'd they go?
I don't know.
I'm Sneasel.
I'm Weasel.
I'm Beelzebub.
Is the witch gone?
Of course she's gone. I tweaked her nose.
Bong, 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 the witch is gone, the wicked old witch is gone. And we are happy and quite slapdappy because the wicked old witch is gone.
Bong, bong, bong.
And that's our song.
The wicked old witch is gone.
I'm glad the wicked old witch is gone, too.
We're grateful to you.
And to prove it too,
We'll give you a lift.
And a very great gift.
to take on your way,
It's a magic spell.
To serve you well.
and all you have to say
Is hon, squee, non, squee, giggly, vey.
Yeah, that's a beautiful word. What does it mean?
When trouble is double.
all you have to say
Is hon, squee, non, squee, giggly, vey.
And now we must sigh and wish you goodbye.
And wish you on your way.
But don't forget the magic word.
Hon, squee, non, squee, giggly, vey.
Oh, look at them go. Sneasel, Weasel, and Beelzebub.
Ah, it's stupendous. It's colossal. It's gigantic.
What does that word mean, if you please, Mr. Man in the Moon? Hun, squee,
My
non.
goodness, be quiet, Jonathan Thomas. We're only supposed to say the word when we're in double trouble.
Oh,
Oh, what did you say?
I just said, oh.
Oh. Well, come on, everyone. We've got to be going before it starts snowing. Come on, Jonathan Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Come on, Gordon Zula.
I'm right with you, Chief. It's Moida. That's what it is. Nothing but confusion.
Oh, hush your face and get up, you. Come on.
Oh, we're off to the land of Squee Bubble. We'll run and we'll walk and we'll hobble. We'll never come back till we've taken a whack at the terrible land of Squee Bubble.
We must hurry because we must find Santa Claus, or there'll be no Christmas this year. And things will be sad and much horribly bad, and people will cry. Oh, dear.
So we're off to the land of Squee Bubble. We'll run and we'll walk and we'll hobble. We'll never come back till we've taken a whack at the terrible land of Squee Bubble. We're off to the land of Squee Bubble. We'll run and we'll walk and we'll hobble. We'll never come back till we've taken a whack at the terrible land of Squee Bubble.
Oh, Mr. Man in the Moon, please, sir. Could maybe I ask you a question?
Why, sure, certainly, and of course. What is it?
What's that funny sound?
Oh, you mean that sound? Why, that's the Merry-Go-Round River. Yes, sirree. We're almost there. Come on here. Giddy up, Gorgonzola, giddy up.
Oh, it's Moida. That's what it is. Nothing but back-braiding Moida.
Whoa, Gorgonzola, whoa. We have arrived.
Oh, that's a merry-go-round river?
That's it, Jonathan Thomas. And I don't know how we're going to get across. Do you think that you could swim it, Gorgonzola?
Ah, it's revolting. That's what it is. Nothing but plain horrible.
Oh, what are we going to do?
Well, I don't know. We'll drown if we try to cross that river. It's full of whirligig pools, yes, sir, and crocodilators.
Oh, my goodness.
Nothing but Moida.
Now, look, it's starting to snow. Good gracious. A feather storm.
Oh, look, Mr. Man in the Moon. This snow isn't snow at all. It's feathers. Oh, and they tickle my nose.
Oh, gee.
Phew.
It's gruesome. You're all over me. I'm telling you, it's nothing but...
Oh, if you please, sir. What about that magic word the dwarfs gave us?
Jonathan Thomas, that is a scrumptious idea. Now's our chance to find out what happens when we say, hand squin on, squee, squee, or hand squee, or squee. You'd better say it for me, Jonathan Thomas.
All right.
Gracious, I hope this isn't a trick. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
All right, all together now. Hand squeen on, squee.
Giggly
Well, they've said the magic word, but what do you think will happen? Oh, my goodness. I can hardly wait to find out. So we mustn't miss the story of what happens to Jonathan Thomas next. Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you want to hear about Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. If now you're gathered close about and still as mice, which you are no doubt, I'll do my best to keep my promise and tell you some more about Jonathan Thomas. Now, just in case you don't remember, what happened in December, when he got himself in the dreadfulest trouble, which was worser than worse, and that goes double. And that's quite a fix for a boy only 6, but he couldn't help it because the Squibobliums had kidnapped Santa Claus. And much to his shame, they said he was to blame and took him to court without even asking his name. And then old King Cole, he put down his bowl and dismissed his fiddlers 3 and stared till Jonathan Thomas got scared and then said, "Oh, I see. By hook you're a crook, and I'll give you the book. I'll teach you to mind the laws. You may shiver and shake, but make no mistake. You're sentenced to find Santa Claus." So Jonathan Thomas, he started to go. But where or how, he didn't know. But he trudged down the road until pretty soon he chanced to meet the Man in the Moon. Now, the Man in the Moon was a man most kind who told Jonathan Thomas that if he didn't mind, he'd show him the way that very day. And to walk would be foolish, of course, when he had such a beautiful horse. So off they went as quick as that, without stopping to pack, not even a hat, or even refreshing themselves. And they sang a song as they rode along till they reached the land of the 3 little elves, who taught them some magic to make things quite tragic for the wicked old witch of Rumpelstitch. And then in a trice, and oh, ever so nice, they bid them a fond good day. And so, of course, they got back on their horse and started to ride away till they reached a river they couldn't cross. And then remembered to say the magic word which they had heard, "Hun squee non squee giggly vey." And then from all around there came a sound. And you know what happened then? Well, no doubt you'll soon find out, for here's where the story begins again.
Oh, Mr. Man in the Moon. Oh, I'm scared.
Scared? There's nothing to be frightened about, Jonathan Thomas. Oh, gee, look over there.
Oh, it's a fairy queen. Oh.
When the magic word you say, "Hun squee, non squee, giggly vey," and when its sound doth reach my ear, then most quickly do I appear.
Who are you, if you please?
I am Tenia, fairy queen, who rules the land of Never Mean. Friend to all, both large and small, if the magic word they call.
Oh, thank you, Your Majesty. You're nicer than nice.
In your minds a wish I see, to seek Santa Claus and set him free.
My gracious to goodness and Jiminy Crickets, that's right.
Uh-huh. That's most just right, if you please.
The road is dangerous and filled with fright, and leads through forests blacker than night, where snares and pitfalls beset your path, and goblins and evil things shriek and laugh.
Uh-oh. That's what I've been saying. It's nothing but terrible. That's what it is, horrible.
Many travelers have passed this way and have never been seen to this very day. So if it's strength and courage you lack, then here's fair warning. You'd better turn back.
Oh, no, we can't do that, if you please. We have to find Santa Claus.
That's right, or things will be bad.
And most horribly sad.
Your courage to follow this road so dire is courage which I do much admire. And to help you dispel the evil alarms, I'll give you the best of my magic charms.
Oh, thank you. Please.
Beyond this river of icy doom is the nightmare forest of deepest gloom. And to guard you well from its evil spell, I give you this golden acorn to keep as a charm against the magic sleep.
Oh, thank you.
Before you enter the forest center, stop at the pepper tree and count the count of 1, 2, 3, and say the rhyme of the magic line. Oh, pepper tree, please give to me some pepper, finely ground. Then fill the air of the dragon's lair to make him sneeze so sound. And while he sneezes, you must run before he eats you one by one. And now that I have had my say, I'll bid you all a fond good day and wish you luck upon your way. And if again you need me, say, Hansquee, Nansquee, Giggly Vey.
Hansquee, Nansquee, Giggly Vey. Well, now, that's real nice of you, Your Majesty. But how in the world are we going to cross this river?
Oh, yes, that's right. How in the world are we going to cross this river?
Yeah, that's what I wants to know.
The question you ask was an easy task. And if you'll turn and look, you'll see that the river which made you shiver has been changed to a tiny brook.
A tiny brook? Why, Jiminy Cricket, so it has.
And so again, my friendly three, I'll say goodbye and hope to see you three but very soon. You, Jonathan Thomas.
Goodbye.
And you, Gorgonzola. And you, the man in the moon.
Yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah,
Goodbye. She was awfully nice, wasn't she?
Of course not. How could she be awfully nice? You can't be awful and nice all at the same time. It's against the law. Yeah. Well, now, let's not stop to argue. We've got to hurry, Jonathan Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Well, come on. Up you go on Gorgonzola again. That's the way, leg over. There, here we go again.
Yes, here we go again.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Here we go again.
Through the woods and over the hill. And when you move, you don't stand still.
Oh, we're off to the land of Squibobble. We'll run and we'll walk and we'll hobble. We'll never come back till we've taken a whack at the terrible land of Squibobble.
We must hurry because we must find Santa Claus, or there'll be no Christmas this year. And things will be sad and most horribly bad, and people will cry. Oh, dear.
So we're off to the land of Squibobble. We'll run and we'll walk and we'll hobble. We'll never come back till we've taken a whack at the terrible land of Squibobble. We're off to the land of Squibobble. We'll run and we'll walk and we'll hobble. We'll never come back till we've taken a whack at the terrible land of Squibobble.
Oh, I like that the best of all the songs we sing. Oh, Mr. Man in the Moon. Is that the forest Her Majesty told us about?
My goodness to gracious, it sure is.
Oh, it looks scarier than anything.
It's the forest of nightmares, Jonathan Thomas. And it's a mighty good thing the Fairy Queen gave us the magic acorn, or we would go to sleep and never wake up forever and ever.
Oh, but she only gave us one acorn, and there's 3 of us.
3 of us? Jiminy Crickets, that's right. Now, what in the world shall we do? Oh, Gorgonzola. Oh, we got to think this over.
Oh, whatever shall we do, if you please?
Well, I'll be jiggered if I can get this figured. Now, wait a minute. I've got an idea. Gorgonzola, you hold the acorn in your mouth, and Jonathan Thomas and I will ride on your back. Then the magic spell will travel through you and through us, too. And for goodness sake, we'll all stay awake.
That's a good idea, Mr. Man in the Moon.
Yeah. Here, Gorgonzola, you take the acorn and hold it in your mouth. Here. Yeah, but don't drop it or swallow it.
Oh, no, please don't.
Oh, it's humiliating. Nothing but embarrassing. But if I've got to do it, I've got to do it.
Now then, we're all ready.
I'm ready.
Then giddy up, Gorgonzola, 'cause here we go. And don't fall off, Jonathan Thomas, for if you do, you'll go sound asleep and never wake up again.
I'll hang on to you, Mr. Man in the Moon, and then I can't fall off.
My gracious, here we go. But maybe we'd better take it slow. For what is in the forest, none of us know.
I'm the witch of Rumpelstiltskin, and wicked things I know. The travelers three will quickly see my magic as they go. For I have dreamed and planned and schemed and brewed my witch's brew. I've planned a treat which they'll soon meet as they ride the forest through.
Oh, my goodness. I'd almost forgotten about the wicked old witch of Rumpelstitch, hadn't you? But now what will happen to Jonathan Thomas? I wish I knew, don't you? But then we'll find out in the next story of Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon, and I surely hope that it'll be most soon, don't you? Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you want to hear about Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. Jonathan Thomas, the Man in the Moon, and Gorgonzola the horse started out to search about for the correct and proper course, for the road was long, and they followed it wrong, till they came to a deep, wide river, and there they stood as best they could, but most all they could do was to shiver, till Jonathan Thomas remembered the word which the dwarfs had spoken, and they had heard, and very hard to say, for it goes this way, Hon, squee non, squee giggly vey. And then, quick as a wink, before they could think, there came the noisiest sound, a rumbling, tumbling, bumbling bound that seemed to be all around. Then a flash of fire and a great big puff, which made them all sneeze, for it was smoky stuff. And then there appeared a fairy queen, the most beautiful queen that was ever seen. And she calmed their alarms by giving them charms to ward off the evil witch, who brewed her brew, as all witches do, in the land of Rumpelstitch. And she showed them the road which led over the hill to the nightmare forest, so dark and still. And she gave them an acorn to keep them awake. And then, in just 2 lambs of a shake, she was gone. And so Jonathan Thomas and the travelers 3, who were as brave could be, they traveled away, well, most of the day, till they reached a place which made them stare and gave them a fright, for it was nearly night. 'Twas the dreadful forest of Black Nightmare. And the question arose, as you might suppose, who was to have the acorn in his keep? But the wisest course was Gorgonzola the horse, for it was a charm against evil and harm, and would keep them from falling asleep. So he held it in his mouth, and they climbed on his back and gave him a whack, and again they headed due south. Now, if any of you boys should hear a strange noise, you tell the girls not to be afraid, for things would be bad and most horribly sad if, rather than going, they'd stayed. And of course, you know, because they had to rescue Santa Claus. And all rescues are dangerous. But then, here's where the story begins again.
Oh, we're off to the land of Squibobble. We'll run and we'll walk and we'll hobble.
What was that?
I don't know, Jonathan Thomas, and I'm not going to stop to find out. Yeah. Giddy up, Gorgonzola.
Oh, we're off to the land of Squibobble. We'll run and we'll walk and we'll hobble. We'll off.
Oh, Mr. Man in the Moon, I'm getting scared. It's 2 times 2. What was that?
Jiminy crickets, I don't know.
Do you expect it was the dragon which the fairy queen told us about?
My goodness gracious, I'll bet that's what it is. Oh, more.
Oh, we'd better find the pepper tree that the fairy queen told us about, or the dragon will gobble us up, and I don't want to be gobbled up.
And I don't even want to be gobbled down. I wonder where that pepper tree is.
You'll find it straight ahead, about 20 feet.
Who's that?
Yes, for gracious sakes, who's that?
That's me.
But who are you? I don't see you anywhere.
Of course you do. I'm standing right here, in front of you.
Where?
Right here. If you'd only see, I'm a tree.
A tree?
Did you say a tree?
Of course I did. I'm a quaking aspen tree.
Oh, but I didn't know that trees could talk.
Some of them do, but of course the sappy ones don't. They just bark.
If you please, Mr. Tree, are you stuttering because you're cold?
Of course I am. I'm shaking and quaking till my limbs are almost breaking.
Oh, that must be awful.
You'd think so if you'd been standing here as long as I have.
Do you expect Mr. Man in the Moon we could give him the horse blanket to keep him warm?
Why, goodness gracious, of course. That is if the horse doesn't mind.
Do you mind, Mr. Gorgonzola?
No, it's okay with me. I'm always glad to help a tree.
You haven't got a hot water bottle, have you?
No, sir, Mr. Tree.
And we're as sorry as can be.
But we can put the horse blanket around your feet if you've got any feet.
Oh, just wrap it around my roots, and I'll be ever so much grateful.
Yes, sir.
Hold on there, Jonathan Thomas. Don't get off the horse, or you'll fall asleep for 1,000,000 trillion years.
Oh, I almost forgot.
We'll just have Gorgonzola move over closer to the tree. Yeah. Come on, Gorgonzola. That's it. Whoa. There now. Ha. I guess we can wrap up the tree from here. You take one end of the blanket, Jonathan Thomas.
Okay.
And I'll take the t'other.
All right.
There. That's better.
Oh, that's much better, Mr. Tree.
Oh, yes, thank you. Much better. And you're very kind to think about me, for after all, I'm only a tree.
Oh, thank you, please. And now, could maybe you tell us about where the pepper tree is, if you please?
It's just ahead, about 20 feet.
Oh, thank you very much, if you please.
You're more than welcome. And now that I'm warm and curled up tight, I'll say thank you again. And, oh, dear. Good night.
Oh, he's gone to sleep.
Goodness gracious. I'll guess he was so cool before he couldn't go to sleep. Yeah. Come on, Gorgonzola, we'd better hurry. Or don't you worry, the dragon will gobble us down.
Oh, there it is. No. What were the words the Fairy Queen told us to say?
Jiminy crickets, I've almost forgot. Now, let's see.
Oh, no, I remember. It was 1, 2, 3. Please, pepper tree, give us some pepper ground. And if you do, it's nice of you. Please throw it on the ground.
White, red, or black?
Oh, red, if you please.
It's to make the dragon sneeze.
Okay. 1 can of red pepper coming down.
Thank you, sir.
Don't mention it, for we trees always strive to please. And if we please you, then please tell others. And if we don't, then please tell us trees.
Yes, sir.
Come on, Gorgonzola. Now, Jonathan Thomas, it's growing late. Giddy up, Gorgonzola. Come on.
Now, I bet if the old dragon tries to gobble us up,
or down, we'll fix him. Say.
Oh, there he is again.
Where? I don't see him, I hope.
Oh, right there. Don't let him get me, Mr. Man in the Moon.
Halt! Stop! Stand still, I say.
Whoa, Gorgonzola, whoa.
Oh, look. He's got on a policeman's badge and a policeman's hat.
Of course I have. And not only that, I've got my own court of law, for I'm the worst old dragon that anybody saw.
But we haven't done anything, if you please, Mr. Dragon.
That's what they all say. But just the same, they all must pay.
For I'm the dragon of the 13 tails.
Oh, dear.
Who moans
and groans and weeps and wails, who scares little boys and puppy dogs too, and gobbles them up before they can count up to 2.
My gracious to goodness.
Oh, is he going to gobble us up, Mr. Man in the Moon?
Of course not. Yeah. We haven't got time to be gobbled up.
That's your story.
And with it you're stuck, for you won't have such very good luck. And you'll make it easier if you'll stand right still till I've gobbled you up and had my fill.
Oh, no, we won't.
Oh, no, we won't.
I'm warning you now, let's run. For ready or not, here I come.
Quick, Jonathan Thomas. Throw the red pepper at him. Hurry up, quicker than fast.
Oh, all right. But I hope he can throw it straight. Here it goes. Oh.
Goodness gracious, you hit the mark.
I'll eat you.
Come on, Jonathan Thomas. We'd better fly like a bird on the wing.
Oh, he's coming after us again.
Giddy up, Gorgonzola. Run like everything.
Well, now. Do you suppose that terrible dragon with the 13 tails will be able to stop sneezing long enough to catch up with Jonathan Thomas and the Man in the Moon? Dragons can run awfully fast, you know. But we hope he doesn't, don't we? And we'll find out in the next story of Jonathan Thomas, too. So don't miss it, will you? I win. Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you want to hear about Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. In the heart of the forest, deep with gloom, where the wind harps toll the knell of doom, ride Jonathan Thomas and Gorgonzola and the kind old Man in the Moon. And they ride in quest of a kindly deed, as a knight of old on his fiery steed. And because of their goodness, they invoke fairy laws, for they ride to the rescue of old Santa Claus. For that good old man of Christmas Day was wickedly kidnapped and carried away, and if they don't find him, oh my, oh dear, there won't be any Christmas at all this year. So you see, that's the reason that Jonathan Thomas has traveled so far to keep his promise and brave the terrors and frights, because he was sworn to bring back Santa Claus. And so there they are in the forest so deep, where the wind does wail till their flesh does creep, where the dragons and monsters shriek and roar to gobble them up. And my goodness, what's more, where witches and goblins appear on their path and call down their curses and sneer and laugh. But never you mind, they're not afraid, for you couldn't have paid them enough to have stayed, 'cause they're bound and determined to get what they're after. So Christmas this year will be just full of laughter. Now, of course, you remember the Fairy Queen, the most beautiful fairy that was ever seen, of how she gave them some charms they could take, a magical acorn to keep them awake. For the forest, you know, puts all travelers to sleep. But not so our heroes, for they've an acorn to keep. But charms aren't enough to ward every hitch, and the evil spells of the wicked old witch who lives in the kingdom of Rumpelstitch. But my gracious, I've talked enough for 10 men. So here's where the story begins again.
I am the witch of Rumpelstitch, and I sew my spells with an evil stitch. So speak, O magic mirror wise, of my spell that in the forest lies.
O mighty witch of Rumpelstitch, this I can tell of your magic spell, that another whose power doth greatly foretell hath created a charm which works very well to weaken your magic and your strength to dispel.
You lie, you wicked looking glass, and I'll heap your pieces in the grass, unless the truth to me you keep, and tell me of my magic sleep.
Not so, O witch. As you know, forsooth, I always tell the truth. And in the forest's gloom so deep, a charm doth work against your sleep. For in the forest do I see not one of them, but 1, 2, 3.
Curses on that fairy queen. The last of me they have not seen. For I'll work and toil till my brew doth boil, and then my magic will be most tragic. And to you, O mirror, I make this promise. I'll put an end to Jonathan Thomas. Squim-dum-do, squim-dum-dee, just you wait, and you will see. Just you wait, and you will see.
Oh, we're off to the land of Squibobble. We'll walk and we'll run and we'll hobble. We'll never come back till we've taken a whack at the terrible land of Squibobble.
Hey, stop that racket. Stop that infernal noise, I say. Do you hear? Did you hear something, Mr. Man in the Moon?
I thought I did. Yeah. Well, I guess I didn't.
That's because you are deaf in one ear and you can't hear out of the other.
My gracious to goodness. What was that?
Yes. Who was that? It wasn't the wind. That's who it wasn't. That was me. Me.
Jiminy Crickets.
It certainly is not Jiminy Crickets. Well, then, who are you? None of your business. Coming around here in the middle of the winter, waking a person up out of a sound sleep. Well, whoever you are, you're not very nice.
No, you're not. Yeah. You sassy imp, that's what you are.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me.
What's that you say?
I don't chew my cabbage twice.
My gracious to Jiminy Crickets. You're going to get me mad in a minute.
Only dogs get mad, so bah! Oh, look, Mr. Man in the Moon. It's only a little squirrel. I am not so little. I am as big for me as you are for you, so bah! And you dasn't come up in this tree, or I'll show you who's bigger and who.
My gracious. Never did I see such a grouchy squirrel.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well? Don't pay any attention to him, Mr. Man in the Moon, 'cause he's nothing but an old, grumpy, smart aleck.
Oh, fee fudge. Well, he makes me so mad.
You are mad, and I am glad, and I know what to please you. A strawberry tart to make you smart, and a little boy to tease you.
Oh!
Come on, Mr. Man in the Moon, let's us go. 'Cause if we don't, you're liable to get madder and mad.
I'm already mad.
And Mr. Gorgonzola's liable to get mad. And if he does, maybe he'll drop the magic acorn and then... Did you say acorn? Of course I did. I'll be right down.
Oh, my gracious to goodness. Oh, me. Oh, my. Oh, dear.
Hello. Here I am. My name is Whiskery Bill. My name's Jonathan Thomas, and this is the Man in the Moon, and this is Gorgonzola, the horse. Pleased to meet you. Now, where did you say that acorn was? I didn't say, but it's in Gorgonzola's mouth. Oh. Then, what say we all sit down and eat it up?
Of course not.
Why?
Because, that's why.
The Man in the Moon is stingy. The Man in the Moon is stingy. He is not. And anyway, you couldn't eat up this acorn. Huh. I'd like to see any old acorn I couldn't eat. I am the champion acorn eater of Nightmare Forest. So there. But you couldn't eat up this acorn because it's a magic one. And besides, if you did, we'd all go to sleep and not wake up for 1,000,000,000,000,000,000 years. Oh.
Yeah. Oh.
You hush your fuss. Whoever's talking to you.
Why, you.
Shame on you, Whiskery Bill. You shouldn't talk like that to Mr. Man in the Moon. It isn't night, and you should ought to be spanked.
Yeah, spanked. And I'm just the man who can do it, too.
You got a thief and spank-a-free.
That's all I wanted. Flim-flam-flugga.
Oh, don't get off the horse, Mr. Man in the Moon, or you'll go to sleep. Scaredy cat, straight as you can be. If you ran a million years, you never could catch me.
All right, come on, Jonathan Thomas, let's go. I'm so mad I can see double. Come on, get up, Gorgonzola.
Oh, catch me, Mr. Man in the Moon. I'm slipping.
Jonathan Thomas.
I'm folding.
Oh, Gorgonzola. Whoa. Jonathan Thomas. Hurry up, get back on the horse.
Oh, I'm so sleepy.
Oh, dear. Wake up. Oh, my goodness gracious. He's going to sleep. See what you did, Whiskery Bill?
Oh, gee, Mr. Man in the Moon. I didn't mean to. Honest, I didn't.
Poor Jonathan Thomas. Whatever shall we do? Whatever shall we do?
Oh, magic mirror on the wall, tell me now what doth befall within the forest gloom. Is my magic nicely tragic, as it brought them to their doom?
O mighty witch of Rumpelstitch, much I see that I must tell. For within the forest deep, a little boy lies sound asleep. Thus your spell doth work most well.
You see, because of me, there is an end to 1, 2, 3, and there is no magic in their tears. He'll sleep for 100 million years. Squim-dum-do, squim-dum-dee, I promised you that you would see, that you would see.
Oh, my goodness. Poor Jonathan Thomas. The wicked old witch was right, for in spite of the Fairy Queen's charms, he did fall into the arms of sleep, which the old witch has said will keep him for 100 million years, in spite of their tears. Oh, my. I wonder whatever shall they do now? And what about Santa Claus? Be sure to listen to the next story about Jonathan Thomas and see what happened. Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you want to hear about Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. If it's all about Jonathan Thomas you'd know, then gather up close to your radio. For right now, don't you worry, is the rest of the story of what happened in the last episode. There, deep in the gloom of the Forest of Doom, there by the side of the road. You remember, of course, Gorgonzola the horse, and the kind old man in the moon, and the sweet fairy queen, the loveliest scene, and the 3 dwarfs who sang their tune, and the wicked old witch of Rumpelstitch, and the squirrel named Whiskery Bill. And of course you've heard what has occurred in the forest so deep and still? No? Well, the witch brewed her brew, as all witches do, and made a terrible promise to hold in her keep through the magic of sleep. Poor little Jonathan Thomas. But the sweet fairy queen had the spell foreseen, and worked out an antidote true, an acorn to take to keep them awake until they were the deep forest through. But before very long, something went wrong in that forest so dark and deep, and the evilly spell worked more than quite well, and Jonathan Thomas went sound asleep. And now Gorgonzola the horse, and all the others, of course, are shedding the saltiest tears, for the witch's dire promise is that Jonathan Thomas won't wake for 1,000,000 years. But the squirrel and the horse and the man in the moon say that something has got to be done, and they're planning and scheming, even more than you're dreaming, of everything under the sun. And, of course, very soon, the man in the moon, trying to think of something that mends, sent all around to every near town for all of his very good friends. But the day is so sad and most horribly bad, and the snow is covering the ground, and all they can do is to cry, boo-hoo, which you'll have to admit is the mournfulest sound. But quite far away, there is one who is gay, who rules o'er the kingdom of Rumpelstiltskin, who wears such a smile that it sets my blood rile. She's the terrible and wicked old witch.
Squim-dum-dee, squim-dum-do, there are some things that I would know. So, oh mirror on the wall, speak the truth and tell it all.
The truth, O Witch of Rumpelstiltskin, is that your spell has worked most well. For deep within the forest gloom, there is a scene of doleful doom. And most well you've kept your promise, for there on the snow is one you know by the name of Jonathan Thomas.
Aha, forsooth, you speak the truth, which makes me most happy and gay. For I've well kept my promise about Jonathan Thomas, who'll sleep forever and a day.
Is there no potion which can break this notion, O Witch of Rumpelstiltskin? Which can break through the spell which you've woven quite well with your needle and magic stitch?
There is one indeed, but one which nobody knows. The spell can be broken by only one token, and that is the red, red rose.
They'll never dream of such a scheme, and if they did, I'll place my bid within the winter wind that blows.
You're right. The wind doth bite, and chill is the icy snows. And so my spell is woven quite well, for there is no red, red rose. Squim-dum-dee, squim-dum-doos. For there is no red, red rose.
Poor Jonathan Thomas, I am the tree, as you can see, and I'll give you my branches for a bed.
And I am the bird whose songs you've heard, and I'll give you my feathers for your head.
Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. Poor Jonathan Thomas. Oh, whatever shall we do?
Oh, I wish I could help, and I feel so sad because it's all my fault.
Yeah, well, oh, say, wait a minute. I've got an idea.
What is it?
Oh, why in the world didn't I think of it before? My gracious to goodness, Mr. Man in the Moon, I do believe you're growing feeble-minded.
Hurry and think, as quick as a wink. Oh, please tell me your great idea.
Why, of course. She said whenever there was trouble, why, yes. I remember it as plain as day. The Fairy Queen, she said to say, Hon squee non squee giggly vey.
Here I am. You sent for me? I heard your call as plain could be.
Oh, goodness gracious and Jiminy Cricket, I'm glad you came. Poor Jonathan Thomas, he fell off the horse.
Of course.
And it seems he's fallen under the spell.
Which the wicked old witch has cast quite well.
And now he's going so sound asleep, we can't awaken him when we've tried for a week.
I can give naught but my tears through the weary years. For my magic has not the strength to break this sleep which is very deep, and no one can tell its length.
Then what shall we do? We plead with you before our hearts do break. We'll go through all strife and even give up my life to make Jonathan Thomas awake.
Please, your majesty, what can we do?
There is but one way that I can say.
Yeah, what is it?
Far away where the north wind blows,
And deep, deep under the icy snows, there lies the bush of the red, red rose.
Yes?
Please go on, Your Majesty.
Oh, yes, please do.
If spring were here to bring us cheer, the spell could be broken well. But nowhere grows the red, red rose when the demons of winter shriek and yell. But if you would, or if you could, go to the brambly briar and tell your woes to the red, red rose and speak your heart's desire.
And do you suppose that it would grow us a rose?
Until you've tried, nobody knows.
Well, we'll sure try.
I'll go, the winds do blow, and no matter how deep the snow. And I'll try my best, even though I'm distressed.
And we'll pray for you.
Oh, don't pray for me, for you'll soon see that I'll keep my promise. But save your prayer for him right there. And that poor little Jonathan Thomas.
We wish you speed on your noble deed and hope to see you soon. And if you succeed, I'll be your friend in need. Signed, sincerely, the Man in the Moon.
Well, goodbye. And, oh, please don't let him die. I'll hurry as fast as I can. I'll go faster than fast if only I'll last. Faster than anyone ran. Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye, Whiskery Bill. Goodbye.
Squeam-dum-dee, squeam-dum-do. There are some things that I would know. So speak, O magic mirror wise, and tell what within the forest lies.
There is one who knows of the red, red rose, and he seeks to find it soon.
But I'll stop him quick with a magic trick, and then he'll change his tune. For there's no one so great who can make me wait. And again I make a promise. I've sealed the doom with the wax of gloom on the form of Jonathan Thomas. Squim-dum-dee, squim-dum-do, on the form of Jonathan Thomas.
Oh, my gracious. Do you suppose they'll find the rose in time to save Jonathan Thomas? Oh, I hope so, don't you? For then our dreams will come true. And they mustn't they? Because they've just got to find Santa Claus. So don't forget to listen to the next story of Jonathan Thomas, will you? I won't. Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you want to hear about Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. Are all you kiddies as quiet as mice? You are? Well, now that's wonderfully nice. And those who are not, they'd better be soon. For here's some more news from the Man in the Moon. Of course, you know what happened up there, of how the Squibobbliums took up a dare and broke most all of the laws and kidnapped poor old Santa Claus. Of course, you remember the wee little boy whose name is Jonathan Thomas, of how he went with the Man in the Moon and made us a solemn promise to rescue Santa before Christmas night. But now they've met up with a dreadful fright. You see, they set out old Santa to save, and you'll have to admit they were braver than brave, and they met 3 dwarfs who were really quite nice, who helped out a lot with some good advice. But then the wicked old witch of Rumpelstitch cast a spell which worked very well until they got into all sorts of trouble. And then they remembered a word they had heard, which the dwarfs had told them to say. And this was the word which they had heard. It was hun, squee nun, squee giggly they. And then, what do you think? As quick as a wink, there appeared a good fairy queen who knew of the witch and soon spoiled her scheme, for she gave them a charm to calm their alarm. 'Twas an acorn that they could take through a forest so deep, which was enchanted with sleep, and the acorn would keep them awake. So they rode on their horse, Gorgonzola, of course, until something dreadful befell. A tiny white squirrel named Whiskery Bill scared them all so they couldn't stand still. And right off the horse poor Jonathan fell. And of course the spell worked beautiful well there in the forest so deep, for Jonathan Thomas, as to the witch's promise, went fast and sound asleep. Well, there was only one token by which the spell might be broken, for that's the way every spell goes, and here's what it takes to bring him awake: a beautiful red, red rose. So the squirrel bowed his head, and here's what he said: I'll go for the red, red rose. But then, here's where the story begins again.
Oh, where am I? Who are you?
Have you forgotten so soon my visit to you and the man in the moon?
Oh, now I know who you are. You're the witch.
Aha, forsooth, you speak the truth. I am the witch of Rumpelstiltskin.
But where am I and how did I get here?
To answer that question which you ask is a very easy task. This is the slumber cave, both wide and deep, where bats and nightmares and evil things creep.
But how did I get here?
Aha! You came here in your sleep.
But how could I do that, if you please? If I was asleep, how could I go anywhere?
For such a little boy, you ask the questions well, and by my trow, I'll answer now. It is the magic spell. For far away in the forest deep, you still are there, and fast asleep.
Oh, how could I be there in the forest fast asleep when I'm here?
Under my spell, which you are quite well, things are not always as they seem. So while you're asleep in the forest deep, you are also here as in a dream.
Well, then, I'd rather wake up, because I don't like to dream I'm here. It's too scary, and besides, I don't like witches. Why doesn't somebody wake me up?
Listen well, my little tyke. It doesn't matter what you like. For here within this slumber cave, I'll keep you prisoner as my slave.
But you can't do that, because I'll wake up, and then I won't be here anymore.
It's plain to see you're very brave, but you'll not leave this slumber cave, for though it's quite tragic, your sleep is quite magic. And all your sobs and cries and salty tears will not awake you for 1,000,000 years.
Well, but I'll bet the man in the moon will wake me up, because we have to go find Santa Claus in time for Christmas.
Yes, he's trying hard, goodness knows. And is sent away for the red, red rose. For that's the one and only token by which this magic sleep may be broken. But for their plans I have a cure. A very good one, you may be sure.
You hadn't better hurt Mr. Man in the Moon if you know what's good for you. Or Mr. Gorgonzola the horse, or Whiskery Bill the squirrel,
Of your talk I quickly tire. So come here closer to the fire, and look within the bubbling brew, and tell me what appears to you.
Oh, I can see Mr. Man in the Moon. And he's in the forest, kneeling down in the snow by a little boy.
What you see is very true, and that little boy is plainly you.
Oh, it is, isn't it? But Mr. Man in the Moon is crying. I've never seen him cry before. I wonder why.
Because he's much afraid you'll die, which is indeed a merry fiddle. But wait until I stir the kettle. Now speak and tell to me what it is you plainly see.
Oh, my goodness. It's Whiskery Bill, and he's running over the snow faster than 2 times 2.
Of course he is, and all for you.
But why, if you please, Mrs. Witch, where is he going?
Far to the north where the cold wind blows, in quest of the magic red, red rose. 'Tis such a sorry pity, too, that he does it all for you.
If he's going for me, then why is it a pity?
Because I have a plan, and try to stop it if you can. I'll stop that pesky Whiskery Bill before he reaches yonder hill. For my magic mirror shows he'll never find a red, red rose. He'll never find a red, red rose.
And over the snow I go. I must keep my promise to Jonathan Thomas. But how? Oh, only goodness knows. For I've run and I've run till I'm nearly done, and I can't find a red, red rose.
Oh, Whiskery Bill. Oh, Whiskery Bill. Look here. I'm over this way.
Jiminy crickets. And oh, my goodness, if this isn't a happy day. I've run faster and further than anyone knows looking for you, dear Mrs. Rose. Hello.
Hello.
Will you kindly grow a beautiful red, red rose?
Oh, my goodness, what a task. Do you quite realize what you ask?
Yes, I do as much as you. But it means so very much. For if it didn't, I wouldn't have run as fast as I've done, and I wouldn't even ask you for such.
Why?
Because he'll die. Oh, please, Mrs. Rose, please help us out. Just one rose to take so that he can awaken, and so that I can keep my promise. You see, Mrs. Rose, it's not for me, but for poor little Jonathan Thomas. He lies asleep in the forest deep under the witch's spell, and everyone knows that only a rose can make him happy and well.
Well, the season is late, as you know by the date, and we roses have gone to bed. I can't help worry about your story and all the things you've said. And I don't know if I could grow a rose in the color of red.
Oh, please, Mrs. Rose. I'm on my knees. It's not so much that I ask.
Oh, it's quite a task, and that's quite right. For I happen to know the only rose I could grow would not be red, but whiter than white. For I've run out of color. It didn't last. But you can get me some more if you will hurry real fast.
Oh, can I? Really?
Yes. Run as fast as you can go until you come to the long rainbow. And there you will find a tiny store where the colors are kept. And what's more, you'll have to ask the rainbow keeper for the best of his colors and not the cheaper. And now don't forget what I've said. You must bring back only the very best red.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Rose, I won't forget. You're the kindest rose I ever met.
Thank you, sir. And now, good luck on your way.
Thank you, ma'am, and, good
night. Well, at last we're on our way. At least Whiskery Bill knows what to do now, and I'm glad, aren't you? For I didn't think that there'd be any roses at this time of the year. But I wonder if Whiskery Bill will have any trouble in finding the rainbow. You think he will? Oh, I hope not, don't you? But then we'll find out in the next story of Jonathan Thomas. So don't forget to listen. I won't. Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you want to hear about Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. Ding dong ding, the bells do ring. We're bringing you news of the latest thing that has happened up on the moon. And we hurried to bring it quicker than soon, for we knew you'd be worried, and that's why we hurried in from the icy snows to tell you some more how the story goes. Now, of course, you remember little Jonathan Thomas, who has lived 6 years and never once broke a promise. And you remember the Squeebobbles who broke all the laws and kidnapped poor old Santa Claus? And how Jonathan Thomas and the Man in the Moon and well, of course, Gorgonzola the horse set out real soon, and they had to because, well, they've just got to rescue old Santa Claus. Well, never you mind. They'll find him yet. Oh, but we mustn't forget that wicked old witch of Rumpelstitch, and how in the nightmare forest so deep, little Jonathan Thomas has fallen asleep. And he wasn't supposed to do that at all, and he wouldn't if he hadn't happened to fall right off the back of the horse. But now, of course, Whiskery Bill, he's a squirrel, he tried to see if there could possibly be a charm to break the spell which the wicked old witch had woven so well. And how he found out, only goodness knows, but it turned out to be a red, red rose. So now, while Jonathan Thomas lies fast asleep and all of his friends stand round and weep, why, Whiskery Bill is way over the hill and going to the rainbow's end. For everyone knows that the brambly rose didn't have any color of red, so she told him to go through the ice and the snow for rainbow rubies, her colors to mend, and so there he goes as fast as the wind that blows. And now, before you can count up to 10, here's where the story begins again.
Double trouble, boil and bubble, and brew my magic well, for I'm in fine fettle, oh, faithful kettle, when things to me you tell.
Oh, please, Mrs. Witch, what happened to Whiskery Bill? You didn't hurt him, did you?
That's not the story, and you needn't worry about poor Whiskery Bill, for though my magic is quite tragic, it is not brewed to kill. And if you think me quite the liar, then come here closer to the fire and gaze into the bubbling brew and tell me what appeals to you.
Oh, I can see him. I can see poor Whiskery Bill. And, oh, look, Mrs. Witch. He must not be feeling very well because he's crying.
Uh-huh, but he's not dying.
Oh, please don't hurt Whiskery Bill, Mrs. Witch, because he's such a nice little squirrel.
Keep watching, please, oh Jonathan Thomas, and you'll see how well I keep my promise. For I've cast my spell very well, because you shall not rescue Santa Claus. And if into my brew you'll gaze, you'll see how quickly pass the days, until I alone will have much cheer. For Christmas shall not come this year.
You're not very nice.
I should know that well. You've said it twice. But keep on gazing long until you see what happens to Whiskery Bill. What happens to Whiskery Bill?
Goodness, how I've run. I've run until I'm almost done. And I'll just bet there's no other one beneath the sun that's ever run as fast as I have done. Oh, my goodness, the time has come, the time has come.
I say, old boy, what did you say?
I said that...
Well, speak up, speak up. Did I hear you correctly or didn't I?
Jiminy crickets and chief willikers. What are you trying to do anyway? Scare me out of 20 years' growth? Who are you?
The question, my little pipsqueak, isn't who am I, but who are you? And you'd better tell me very true. That is, if you know what's good for you.
I already know what's good for me. A lot better than you do, so bah!
Well, and bless me. it's very plain to see that you're not very polite, but quite smart alecky. And what I think would be good for you is to be taken down a peg or two.
You just mind your own business, old Whiskers face.
Remember your place.
Oh, you hush your fuss and get out of my way.
Well, Lord Bodkins, and by Jove, I say.
Yes, and what's the big idea in stopping me anyway?
Because it were my very words I heard you say.
Oh, nonsense and rubbish and fiddlesticks.
As plain as day I heard you say, the time has come, and by my hat, you can't do that, you know.
Oh, is that so?
Don't you know that I'm the walrus?
So what if you are, you old fish face? Besides, I gotta run.
Well, by my hat, I'm most glad of that. But don't you say the time has come for me to run, for that's my line, from a very old rhyme. Of course, you might say, has come the time, or perhaps time the has come, or some such other one.
Oh, for goodness sakes. Are you the one who said, the time has come, the walrus said, to speak of many things, of shoes and ships and candle wax and cabbages?
Sealing wax, not candle wax, you blasted whickersnackle.
Well, wax is wax, isn't it? The same as pigs is pigs.
Oh, I suppose so.
But excuse me now, I've got to go.
Well, now I'd like to know why you have got to hurry so. To be quite nice, you know, I've strived. So why should you leave when you've just arrived?
Because I have to go to see the keeper of the rainbow.
Well, bless my soul, and what do you know?
I know a lot of things, which is more than you do.
Blimey, that's not very nice of you.
Well...
Ah, pish and tush, what's the rush? Why not stop for a cup of tea?
Because, that's why. If I do, he'll die, and then what'll they think of me?
Well, crumpets on a griddle, what is this riddle? And what are these things you say? Who is he? And Odd Bodkins? Who are these people that you call they?
It's all the doings of that wicked old witch.
Aha! I smell a mice. For whatever she does is never very nice.
She cast a spell on a very good friend and put him fast asleep.
My word, and by Jove, it fairly makes my flesh creep.
And there's only one way to wake him up, and that's the red, red rose.
And where in the world can you get one of those?
At the rainbow's end.
Well, instead of going, why don't you send?
It's not the rose I'm going for, it's the color. 'Cause the bramble bush can grow white roses, but she can't grow any red.
Oh, now I see. I'm getting it through me head.
And I've just got to go because it's for poor little Jonathan Thomas.
Right-o, and of course you've got to keep your promise. Wait a minute. I've got a thought.
What?
If you go alone, you're apt to be caught.
Who's going to catch me?
Why, the Jabberwocky, of course.
The Jabberwocky? What's that?
The Jabberwocky, a most vicious bird who simply adores little squirrels, or at least so I've heard.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just chuck it all and go with you. Whop, whop, whop. Before we get set, do you realize we've never met?
Well, my name is Whiskery Bill.
You don't say. Why, now, that name's as tasty as an apple. And, now, my name, Sir Algernon Q. Whipplesnapple.
Sir Algernon Q. Whipplesnapple, how do you do?
Ho, ho, ho. I was going to say that to you.
Well, come on, Sir Algy. We've got to go.
You said it, Whiskey, and right-o.
Together we should ought to find the color red.
Of course we should. That's what I said. And by Jove, we'll show that witch a thing or two. In fact, we shan't come back until we do. Come on, Whiskers. Let's get out of here.
And there will be a Christmas after all this year. Here we go
to the rainbow to find a ruby red, to fix the witch of Rumplestitch and drive her out of her head. Hippity skip, hurrah, hip hip, and off and away we go. We'll never stop our hippity hop till we reach the long rainbow. Here we go to the rainbow to find a ruby red, to fix the witch of Rumplestitch and drive her out of her head.
Well, now, I guess we're beginning to get somewhere. What with Whiskery Bill and the Walrus going together to find the red, red rose, and I'll bet they get it, too. Well, now they've just got to, haven't they? Or else how can they wake up Jonathan Thomas in time to rescue Santa Claus for Christmas? Well, we'll find out, won't we? Maybe in the next story of Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. I'll be listening, won't you? Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you want to hear about Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. Now, I hope every little girl and boy will be very quiet so they may enjoy this wonderful story of Jonathan Thomas, who made such a very important promise. Now, of course, you remember how it all came about, but if you shouldn't, I haven't a doubt it won't take long to remind you again. So this is the way the story began. You see, the Squibobliums broke all the laws and kidnapped poor old Santa Claus. And so it was up to the Man in the Moon and Jonathan Thomas to bring him back soon. So they climbed on the back of Gorgonzola the horse, for it was a long way to go. But then, of course, it was a dangerous road, past the house of the Toad, and over a river so wide, and past the dwarfs who were nice and who gave them some advice about the wicked old witch of Rumplestitch, who came flying up on her broom. And she laughed and screamed in the awfulest way and said they were all headed for doom. And she cast a bad spell, which worked very well in the enchanted forest of sleep. But a good fairy queen was very soon seen when they said the word they had to say, a word they had heard from the dwarfs on the way, a magical word that went this way: Hun, squee nun, squee giggly vey. And the good fairy queen gave them a charm to keep them quite safe from every alarm. But then Whiskery Bill, in the forest of sleep, scared the horse till he couldn't stand still. Then what do you think? As quick as a wink, Jonathan Thomas fell off and went sound asleep. And there was only one token by which the spell could be broken, and that was the red, red rose. But it's winter, and most everyone knows that the brambly briar can't grow a red rose. She could grow a white one, but that's not red. And so to Whiskery Bill she said, "Please go to the rainbow's end. You'll have to go, for there's no one else to send." And so Whiskery Bill went over the hill, and then he met a walrus, and they became very good friends. And, well, here's where the story begins again.
My goodness gracious sakes alive! Do you think that we'll ever arrive? After all, we've traveled quite a way. Oh, please, Sir Algy, what do you say?
Well, blimey, there's lots of things that I could say, but there's one thing that I'm sure I know, and that is we haven't far to go.
No?
Righto. Can't you see by the color of the air? The Rainbow Bridge is right over there.
Well, Jiminy Crickets, if you're not right. Oh, my goodness, it's a beautiful sight. Why, there's blue and green and yellow and red. There's so many colors they go to my head.
Now listen right careful and be as still as a mouse. The Rainbow Keeper lives in that little house.
Well, then, what shall we do?
Well, now, that's up to you. It's you who wants the color red.
Oh, of course I do. That's what I told you. I don't want to be killed down dead.
Well, now, that's no shame, and I can give you no blame. But here's what you gotta do. You go to the door as I've told you before, and you knock and then say, "How do you do?"
Oh,
Oh. Righto.
And then what happens to me?
Well, I don't know. You'll have to go. Then, of course, you'll see. But I can give you an hint. They say he's richer than a mint. And one more thing to make you wiser.
Yes?
Ha ha, you'll never guess. It's rumored around that he's quite a miser.
Oh.
Righto.
Thank you so much for your advice and such, and I guess I'd better start. It won't do to be delayed, even though I am afraid. So I guess here's where we part.
Now up with your chin and march right in, and don't be quite so alarmed, for it might be a treat, that chap to meet, and you might even be a bit charmed.
Oh.
Righto. And I'll wait for your ear, and lots of cheer, and wish you the very best luck. And call if you like, you poor little tyke. That is if you happens to get stuck.
Well, please keep your fingers crossed and hope and pray I won't be lost. Here I go.
Righto. Hip hip and cheerio.
Well, take a deep breath, Whiskery Bill, and knock on the door and stand right still. 1 for the money, 2 for the show. Pound on the door, and here we go. Bang, 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 and biff, biff, biff. Oh, my goodness, I'm frightened stiff.
We don't want any. We've already got some.
Well, that was quicker than you can say scat. For goodness sakes, how do you like that? Such goings-on make me sore. Oh, this time I'll really pound this door. Biff, bang, boom, slam, bang, stop. If you don't answer, I'll break the lock.
For goodness gracious to gracious me, what do you want? Whatever it is, you can't have it.
Well, the least you could do is to invite me in.
Why, I'd like to know.
Hurry up and don't be so slow. Are you the keeper of the rainbow?
Of course I am. And I'm a very busy man. So speak up quick or I'll use this stick on you. What do you want?
Well, I was wondering if you'd mind. Well, that is, I mean, if you'd be so very kind. Well, you see, well...
For gracious sakes, will you stop all these haws and hems?
Yes, sir. I've come for 2 beautiful ruby gems.
You've come after what?
Oh, no, sir. Not after what. 2 ruby gems. And they must be red.
You're out of your head. Why, you ought to be in bed. You're crazy enough, goodness knows.
Oh, no, sir, I'm not. And they have to be got. They're to be for the Brambly Rose.
Huh. For such a small lad, you're simply quite mad. I won't give you a thing, but I'll make you sing if you don't get out of my sight. Why, the very thought that my rubies could be bought. Why, my dear little squirrel, you're not quite.
Oh, but please, Mr. Keeper, they must be had, or everything will be terribly bad. And without the rose, there'll be such woes. And I will have broken my promise, and he'll stay asleep in that forest deep.
Who?
Why, poor little Jonathan Thomas. Oh, so please, it'll be ever so kind of you, and I only need just 1 or 2.
The answer is no. And now you must go. Now, this is the way to the door.
Say, you keep this up and you'll get me sore.
Just stop your papers and go peddle your papers. I haven't time to worry, so there's the door and here's your hat. And please, sir, what's your hurry?
All right, I'll go. But you'll soon see that you haven't seen the last of me. And when I'm through, I'll feel sorry for you, and you'll be much the wiser. Why, you're meaner than that witch. You'd even push little chickens in a ditch. You're nothing but a wicked old miser.
Ha and ho, and hurry up and go. Now, I'll say goodbye.
Bah! What's good about it? Oh, miser, I never did see such a nasty old thing in all my life. He's a mean...
Well, Struth and Stick, you're back real quick. What did he say?
Well, he didn't say for me to stay. He said for me to go away. That's what he said.
Well, strike me pink, you mean.
Yes, I mean.
And now what'll we do for the color of red?
I don't know.
Here now, wait a mo. I've got an idea.
What?
We'll just be wiser than that old miser. Look, there's the Rainbow Bridge, and I'll tell you what we'll do. We've got to have the red, and it's just entered my head. Ho, ho! We'll break off a piece or two.
Off the rainbow?
Right out. Come on here, Whiskery Bill. You can't get anywhere standing still. Look, here now. It's solid ruby. Enough for a king.
Gee whizzle. Oh, but we haven't got a hammer or a chisel or anything.
But as I said, I've a tusk and an head. So what I'll do is put my ivory tusk on the ruby, and then you hammer me on the head. And then, like I said, we'll break off a piece or two. That's what we'll do.
That's a good idea.
Now then, be as quiet as a mouse, so the miser won't come out of his house. Are we ready?
Yes, but hold right steady.
Now then, you can start in to pound, but don't make too much of a sound. Go ahead. Start pounding on me head.
Here I go. We got the ruby! We got the ruby!
Hey, get away from that rainbow!
Come on, Sir Archie, we gotta run!
Righto, run for your life. There's hundreds of rainbow police chasing us.
We'll be caught. Here come the police!
Well, and so they finally got the rubies red from the rainbow. But will they be caught and put in jail maybe for 1,000,000 years? Well, that old miser didn't have any right to refuse poor Whiskery Bill 2 teensy-weensy rubies, because anyway, he doesn't own the Rainbow Bridge. Everybody does. Well, we mustn't forget to hear the next story of Jonathan Thomas, so we can hear what happened to Sir Algy and Whiskery Bill. I won't forget. Don't you? Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you want to hear about Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. Hark, hark, the dogs do bark. And really, I feel so silly, for I've just come down from the moon with my hair all willy-nilly. But I've got good news to tell to you, all about little Jonathan Thomas. For I knew how anxious you'd be to hear of how he's kept his promise. Well, you remember the Witch of Rumpelstitch and the very good Fairy Queen, and what a good friend she's always been to foil the witch's scheme. Well, Jonathan Thomas is still sound asleep and under the spell in the forest so deep. But Whiskery Bill, that's the squirrel, he ran and ran and ran until he came to the rainbow's end, where the cold wind blows. He went there, you know, for the briar rose, who needed a ruby for its red. That's why to Whiskery Bill she said, "Please hurry and go where the cold wind blows and bring me a ruby that glows. And when you've done that, please hurry right back, and I'll grow you a red, red rose. And then you can keep your promise and awaken little Jonathan Thomas." So Whiskery Bill, he ran and ran, even faster and quicker than ever I can. But before he came to the rainbow's end, he chanced to meet a very nice friend who happened to be a walrus. Well, together they went, as Bill had been sent, but when they got there, after such wear and tear, they met the Rainbow Keeper, and then they were wiser, for he was a miser, and no one can be any cheaper. But the walrus said, "Look here, I'm no fool. There's more than one way to get the jewel." And they did. And then they ran and ran and ran, just as fast as anyone can until... Oh, but then, here's where the story begins again.
We're as happy and quite a bit sappy. Over the snow we go. Hippity-hop, we'll never stop for a long time, goodness knows. Hand in hand we reach the land of the beautiful red, red rose. For we've been to the land of the rainbow, the beautiful rainbow's end.
And
We've got the red and the price on our head, which we would be glad to lend. So, hippity-hop, we'll never stop for a long time, goodness knows. Till hand in hand we reach the land of the beautiful red, red rose. Ho, 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 ho. Blimey, me lad, ho, 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 and strike me blue. If that isn't the finest song that I've ever heard, even from a bird, and that's putting it quite a bit strong.
It's the funniest thing, but I like to sing when I'm happy and gay. And I'm so happy that I'm quite a bit sappy. So, hi, nanny, nanny, and a hey, hey, hey.
Righto, by Jove, I say.
Oh, I'm sure glad I kept my promise. For now we can wake up Jonathan Thomas. And I can hardly wait, goodness knows, till we arrive at the Brambly Rose.
You know, it was a bit of fun, even if we did have to run when the keeper chased us out. And I thought I'd die with laughter. But we're no fools, 'cause we got the jewels. And blimey, that's what we went after.
You've been a good friend, for not all friends would lend such help as you have done. And I would have looked and looked everywhere under the sun for that rainbow bridge if you hadn't come.
Oh, pish and tush, what a lot of slush. And stop your jabbering flatter. Or strike me pink, most people will think that you're as mad as an atter.
Well?
By Jove, I say, will you look this way? We've reached the end of our trail. We've followed our nose till we've reached the rose. But I knew from the start that we wouldn't fail.
Oh, there's the Brambly Rose. Oh, but where's the ruby? Oh, dear, where I put it, only goodness knows.
Hello, my friendly Whiskery Bill. You see, I'm waiting for you still.
Hello, Mrs. Rose. Oh, I've got a kind of treat. I want you to meet a very good friend of mine. Mrs. Rose, if you'll not resent, then may I present Sir Algernon Q. Whipplesnapple?
How do you do?
Quite nicely, thank you. And I might even say that I'm charmed.
You know, I'm glad that you hurried, for I was no end worried, not to speak of being alarmed. I was afraid you'd stayed and forgotten your promise, which would have been sad for Jonathan Thomas.
Here's the rubies, Mrs. Rose, but it's not half as red as Sir Algy's nose.
Oh, now go away. That's not a very nice thing to say.
I've been told that it's very cold up near the rainbow's end.
Well, there was quite a storm, but I was quite warm, thanks to my very good friend.
Thank you for the ruby. And now, let's waste no more time. But please shut your eyes while I speak the rhyme.
Rhyme, Mrs. Rose?
Oh, yes, you might have guessed, for you see, each rose is prose, written in color and rhyme.
Oh, I'll shut my eyes.
You're both very kind and most wise. And now... Oh, earth so deep and sky so high, and all ye winds that moan and sigh, and all ye beauties of the trees, and all ye emeralds of the sea, please hide your eyes and bow your head, while I bring forth a rose so red. And now I give this gift to you. Guard it well, it shall be true. Take it as you made the promise, and awaken from sleep little Jonathan Thomas.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Rose. You're so very kind.
And now I suppose we'd better go. That is, if you don't mind.
Of course I don't. I'm very glad, for the spell of the witch made me very sad. And now I may sleep in my mossy bed, thou now that you have your rose so red. Goodbye.
I'm pleased to have met you.
Righto, and so am I.
May good luck and cheer be on your way, and may you again come back someday.
We'll try to, and thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Come on, Whiskery Bill.
Oh, we're
off to keep our promise to wake up Jonathan Thomas. For
we've
done right well to break the spell of the wicked old witch of Rumplestitch. Oh, we're off to keep our promise.
Squim-dum-do, squim-dum-dee. Tell me, magic mirror, what you see.
Oh, magic witch of Rumpelstitch, I see the breaking of your will and the red rose token. So the spell will be broken by a squirrel named Whiskery Bill.
Forsooth, that's not the truth. I thought I stopped that Whiskery Bill.
Well, he does not stop, but goes hippity-hop as he runs across the hill.
Then much more magic will I make tragic, till he doth quake and shiver. Look and see, and then tell to me, does he have to cross a river?
Below the hill, there is a rill. That's very deep and nice. But your greatest trouble, which is more than double, is that it's frozen over with ice.
Ah, their game I'll beat. I'll brew some heat, and then we'll see how nice. When in they fall, red rose and all, right through the melting ice. Right through the melting ice.
Snug as a bug in a rug, we are. We're snug as a bug in a rug. Chug, chug.
We're nice and warm against any old storm, and we'll not quake and quiver. And we
Lippity-lop and skip and hop right over and across the river.
Oh, I'm certainly glad the river's frozen over, for water to squirrels is not like clover. 'Cause I hate to get wet, and on that you can bet.
Come on, let's cross. All set?
Yep.
Then please don't slip, for nothing's as smooth as ice. And like as I said, don't fall on your head, for that wouldn't be very nice.
Oh, look, Sir Algy. What do you know? Look, there are some cracks beginning to show.
By Jove! I say, look here, this way. If this isn't hard to beat. Where there's ice and snow, and it's 20 below, how can there be any heat?
What's that sound? Look out, we'll drown. I can't swim if I fall in. Help!
Look out! Oh, the ice is breaking.
Well, what do you know about that? Here they were just about back to Jonathan Thomas with the red, red rose. They fall through the ice into the river. Oh, and it makes me shiver to even think of it. What do you think will happen? Well, we'd better find out real soon. So don't forget to listen to the next story of Jonathan Thomas, will you? I won't. Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you want to hear the story of Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. Now, of course, you remember about Jonathan Thomas, of how he went to the moon and made a promise. But in case you don't know what it's quite all about, and so you won't have even the tiniest doubt, Jonathan Thomas and the man in the moon are searching for old Santa, and they must find him soon, for the wicked Squibobliums, who broke all the laws, kidnapped poor old Santa Claus. And there can't be a Christmas at all this year without him, and you know the time draws near. Well, now, of course, you remember the wicked old witch who lives in the land of Rumpelstitch? Why, you'd think she was double. She's caused so much trouble to put to the test their very good friend, the good fairy queen, who's helped them no end. And the three little dwarfs who taught them to say the magical word of on, squeen, on, squeak, giggly vey, which helped them a lot, as far as they've got. Remember, the queen gave them a charm to take, a magical acorn to keep them awake as they went through the nightmare forest so deep. And she said, remember, you can't go to sleep. And then
they passed a dragon whose fiery breath nearly sent all of them right to their death. And then, when they reached the forest so dark, a little white squirrel, kind of just for a lark, named Whiskery Bill, why, he drove them quite mad, for he teased them, and that's always bad, till Jonathan Thomas fell off the horse. And he fell even further than that, of course, for without the magical acorn to keep, why, naturally, he fell very sound asleep. And nothing except a bright red rose could wake him up. And my goodness knows there wasn't a red rose anywhere to be had. And so Whiskery Bill, he felt pretty bad, till the rose bush told that on the long rainbow he'd find some red rubies, and with them she could grow a red, red rose. And so he hurried and was very much worried until he met a walrus who said he'd go along and show him the way so he wouldn't go wrong. Well, they got the rubies with a great deal of trouble. As a matter of fact, their troubles were double. And the rose bush, so kind, said that she didn't mind if she worked after hours to grow beautiful flowers, and she grew them a rose and kept her promise. And now we can wake up little Jonathan Thomas. That is, I hope, because on the way back, the ice on the river they were crossing went crack. And you'll have to admit it's a horrible sin, but Whiskery Bill and the walrus fell in. And, but then, here's where the story begins again.
Keep afloat somehow or other, and I'll rescue you before you smother. Strike me pink, this water is wet, but never you mind, I'll save you yet. Here now, you ain't dead, but you will be if you don't climb up on my head.
Well, hold me up until I get that. Oh, my gracious, I'm soaking wet.
Now then, up you go and have a care on top of me head. It's drier up there.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. 'Cause you're as good as a boat, and Jiminy Crickets, I can't even float.
Well, of course, now, swimming is what all walruses are for. Come on now, we'll strike out for the shore, and we'll get there fast without an itch. This was the doings of that wicked old witch. But never you mind, it won't take long, and we could pass the time if we sang a song.
That suits me swell. I can manage to sing and hold on as well.
Oh, swimming, swimming over the river wide. We're as wet can be, but as dry inside. So, swimming, swimming, this is the way it goes. Oyster mainsail, man the pumps, yahoo, and there she blows. Oh, swimming, swimming over the river wide.
Oh, magic mirror on the wall, speak and say what doth befall Whiskery Bill and his walrus friend.
I see them both at the river's bend, O mighty witch of Rumpelstiltskin.
That's very good, for I knew you would. And now I'll laugh and cackerel, for my magic spell has worked well, and they're both as dead as a mackerel.
Not so, O witch, for there's been a hitch in the spell that you worked so well. It will make you frown, but they did not drown. And something else you may know as well. They're steadily sailing, without even bailing, northeast by east, and steady as they go.
Oh, curses on them. I've been tricked, but nevertheless I'm not yet licked. I'll sit me down and plot and scheme to think up things which they'll never dream.
Is that a threat or just a promise?
Stop sassing me and wait and see what happens to Jonathan Thomas. What happens to Jonathan Thomas?
Hi-de-day and whipperty-snack. Look at me, for I've come back.
Yeah. For gracious sakes to goodness, look who's arrived.
Yep, and how now we're in Clover, 'cause that's all over. And now I can keep my promise. Here, take this rose and hold it to the nose of poor little Jonathan Thomas.
Oh, hey, nunny, hey. If this isn't really a happy day.
Hurry up with the rose. For goodness knows you haven't got all day to take. I've hurried and I've worried and hustled and bustled just so's you could make him awake. So hurry up and don't dawdle and never mind all this fiddle faddle.
That's what I say. There's time for play and there's time for work. And when it's that time, you shouldn't shirk.
Well, for goodness sake, don't push me so. I'm hurrying so fast as I can go.
Put the rose under his nose so he can smell it well.
That's what I'm doing. But as far as I can tell, there's not even a sign of his breath. My gracious to goodness, and Jimmy Cricket, he's as quiet and still as death.
Oh, but he can't be dead, 'cause the Fairy Queen said, and I heard her as plain as day, put the red rose right under his nose, and then he'll wake up. Hey!
He's moving his arm.
It's breaking the chime.
He's beginning to mutter.
Oh, I'm so nervous I could stutter. I'm so upset I could fly.
Jiminy Crickets and gracious to goodness, look, he's opening one eye.
I think I'm going to cry.
By Jove, I say.
For goodness sake, he's wide awake. Hello.
Hello.
Jonathan Thomas, you're wide awake.
Of course I am.
Of course he is.
Strike me pink, what a biz.
Gee whiz.
Oh, my gracious. I guess I must have been asleep.
For more than a week.
Really and truly?
Of course.
You fell off the horse. And how we did quake, 'cause you wouldn't awake.
Oh, now I remember. We were in the Nightmare Forest, and when I fell off the horse, I didn't have the magic acorn to keep me from falling asleep.
But now you're awake, for goodness sake, and you won't go to sleep again. The witch of Rumpelstiltskin.
That's quite true. And how do you do?
None of your business. How do we do? We won't tell you.
You're not very polite, but that's quite all right.
Why don't you go away?
Yes, why don't you go away?
I will, when I've said what I've got to say.
You're badder than bad. You old coffee nerves ad. And you'd better get out of here. We'll make it so hot you'll wish you had got you and your horrible sneer.
You keep quiet, you walrusy one, or you'll wish you had before I'm done.
Yeah.
Now listen to me, you foolish three. If you go ahead, you'll all be dead, and things will be black if you don't turn back.
They're not going to.
Who's talking to you?
Well,
and what's more, I can tell that you'll scream and yell when you meet with the things I've planned. But if it's wisdom you lack and you don't turn back, you'll never reach the sweet Boblium land.
You shut up, you old pickle face, and go on back to your own place. For it's truer than true. You're nothing but a nothing. You just get the stuffing knocked right out of you.
I'm not afraid of your threat, and I'll get you yet. You'll see how I keep my promise. I'll get you, and yes, even you. And you too, little Jonathan Thomas. Yes, and you too, little Jonathan Thomas.
Oh, my goodness. Why doesn't that old witch mind her own business and leave poor little Jonathan Thomas alone? What in the world do you think she'll do? I wish I knew, don't you? But we'll find out, I guess, in the next story of Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. So don't forget to listen, will you? My goodness, I won't. Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you want to hear some more about Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. Well, I'll
bet all you children are anxious to hear if we're going to have any Christmas this year. For, of course, that depends upon Jonathan Thomas and how well he'll be able to keep his promise to rescue old Santa from Squee-Bobble Land. And if he does, well, won't that be grand? Now, the Man in the Moon and Gorgonzola the horse are helping Jonathan Thomas, of course. But in spite of the fact that they learned how to say the magic of Hon Squeenon Squeegiggly Bay, the wicked old witch of Rumpelstitch set her kettle of trouble to boil and bubble. But the good fairy queen said she'd spoil her scheme, and she's been their very good friend and helped them no end. For she gave them a magical acorn to take that would be a sure cure to keep all of them awake. For she said 'twould be fatal if they fell asleep as they went through the nightmare forest so deep. But Jonathan Thomas, he fell right off the horse, and that was the worst that could happen, of course, for he went sound asleep, which was really quite sad, and Whiskery Bill felt ever so bad, till the good fairy queen said only a rose as red as a ruby, held close to his nose, could wake him up. But for miles around there wasn't a red, red rose to be found, until Whiskery Bill met a rose bush fair, who grew them a rose that was ever so rare. But on the way back, on the river of ice, they all fell in, and that wasn't so nice. But the walrus said, "Climb up on my head, we'll show that old witch that we're not dead." And he swam the river, though it made them shiver. Then they reached the forest so deep, where Jonathan Thomas lay fast asleep. And they woke him up with the red, red rose. And it was just in time, my goodness knows. And then, well, you'll hear for yourself, for here's where the story begins again.
Oh, jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the while. We must go through the ice and snow to such an awful trial. So, don't you worry, 'cause we will hurry, and we won't fail because when we're done, we'll bring back one who's known as Santa Claus.
Please, Mr. Man in the Moon, when do you suppose we'll get there?
When we arrive, of course. Anyone knows that, even the horse.
Oh, but I wish it would be pretty soon, because I...
Wait a minute, Jonathan Thomas. What's that noise?
Oh, it sounds like my Uncle Bill does when he snores.
I hope it isn't a dragon with his 13 tails a wagon.
Hello.
Ditto. My gracious to goodness and sakes alive. What are you trying to do? Frighten us half to death?
A half and a half equals 1, and 1 and 1 equals 2. So if you were frightened half to death, you couldn't take a breath, for the one that was dead would be you.
Ditto.
My goodness.
Who are you?
That's no riddle. My name's Tiddle, and this is my brother.
Wink.
Get it? Tiddle.
Wink.
Of 40 winks.
Oh, but I always thought Diddledywinks was a game.
Gee whiz, what if it is? We should worry or care if the name of the game is the same as our name. We're willing to be fair and square, only we're not because we're ugly and round.
Oh, but what are you standing into that umbrella for?
To keep from getting wet.
Ditto.
But it's not raining.
Of course it isn't, under our umbrella.
It isn't even raining out here, so how could you get wet?
You're the silliest person I ever met. How does anybody ever get wet? That's what I'd like to know.
Ditto.
It's easy. You just stand around till the rain comes down, and then you're very well set. And then you wheeze and sneeze and cough and sneeze, and the reason for that is you're soaking wet. Oh, it's as easy as climbing up a tree backwards.
But that's not easy. That's very hard to do.
It might be for you, but not for me. And I'll do it, too, if you want to see.
Ditto.
No, thank you. If you please. We haven't got time.
Then maybe you'd like to see us fight. We can fight so's it makes a terrible sight. We go biff and crash and sock and smash and tumble and fall willy-nilly. and hammer and push till we're really quite silly.
I think you're a little bit silly already.
Oh, that's just because you haven't noticed steady.
Come on, Jonathan Thomas, we'd better go.
Where are you going? That's what I'd like to know.
Why, to the land of Squee-Bobble, of course.
All the way on that old horse?
You just leave our horse alone, because we're going to rescue Santa Claus.
Oh, but you can't do that because...
Why because?
Because he's made some laws. That's why because. And I bet you can't stand on your head and eat strawberry jam.
Of course I can't. And besides, I don't want any strawberry jam.
You couldn't have any if you did, on account of the rule.
What rule?
Oh, my gracious, what a fool. If you take a look at the King's Rule Book...
Jiminy Crickets and Flubdudge, you're talking through your hat.
I am? Well, think of that.
Who is this king you're talking about?
Shh. You're not supposed to shout.
I'm not shouting.
Well, you're not whispering either, because if you were, I couldn't hear you.
Ditto. Who's the king?
He's a lion who right now is trying to get some sleep.
Oh, is that who's snoring?
Yep, and I wouldn't wake him up. That's what he told us to say, to shush him right up so as not to wake him up. All the people who come this way.
Oh, I shouldn't like to wake up a lion.
Well, we've got to go lion or no lion.
Who said that? Who said that? That's what I'd like to know.
Oh, Mr. Man in the Moon, he's waked up. We better hurry.
Oh, no, that's not the course. Just hold your horse and don't get yourself all in a flurry.
Are you the king of this forest, Mr. Lion?
Don't call me that.
Don't call you what?
Lion, lion, lion. That's what everybody calls me. And I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth. I haven't done any lying since last night. And you have to lie once in a while, or you couldn't go to sleep. Unless you can sleep standing up, which I can.
Oh.
Well, now, don't get upset, Mr. Lion.
Don't call me that.
Well, then, what should we call you if we can't call you Mr. Lion?
Oh, don't say it. Don't say it.
Well, I mean if we can't call you, you know.
Oh, I wish I knew. I've thought and thought and thought and thought. How many thoughts is that?
7, I think.
That's what I thought. But as much as I think, I don't get a good name for myself. All I ever get is a headache.
Maybe you should take something for it.
Oh, no, I shouldn't. It's bad enough to be accused of lying without being accused of taking things, too. Yeah, maybe you could think up a good name for me.
I don't know.
No, that's not good, no. I don't know is much too much like my other name. Because if someone was to ask me my name and I said, I don't know, they'd think I was stupid, and I wouldn't blame them.
Well, why can't you just pick out any name?
Oh, names aren't like blueberries. You can't pick them. Oh, dear. It's such a hopeless task. I could just bawl. That's what I could do. Just bawl. And I think I will, if you'll excuse me.
Oh, my goodness, Mr. Man in the Moon. Can't we think up a name for the lion?
Jiminy Crickets and Swillygig. We've got to hurry up and rescue Santa Claus and not spend our time thinking up names for people. For goodness sakes to gracious and oh, jigraph.
What did you say?
I said for goodness sakes to gracious, oh, jigraph.
Oh, that's it. That's it.
What's it?
Yes, what's it?
Oh, jigraph. It's a beautiful name. A most gorgeous name. Oh, jigraph. King of the forest. Truthful, oh, jigraph. The genuine, jaunty, and jolly judge of the jungle. Without fear of jeer or jest or joke. Oh, be jables, I'm joyous. Thank you, my friends. Thank you 1,000,000 trillion times. And now you must come home for dinner.
But, Mr.
Oh, jigraph's the name, and you're to blame. But hurry up.
and we'll go home and tell Mrs. O'Jagraph to put another quart of water in the stew, and then we'll have enough for you, and you, and you, and who else now? Let me see now. Who can it be? Of course it's me. Oh, here we go home to dinner, for you've just picked a winner. I'm glad you came, for now I'll have fame. Oh, Jagraph is the name. Oh, here we go home to dinner, for we just picked a winner. I'm glad we came, for now he has fame. Oh,
Well, there they go, down the forest road to the house of Mr. Lion. Oh, I beg your pardon. I mean Mr. O'Jagraph. And they'd better have a good dinner, too, because they'll need it. What with all the adventures they're going to have on the road to Squeebobble Land, and I wonder what'll happen next. But we'll find out in the next story of Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon, won't we? Of course we will. Don't turn that dial. This is the right station if you want to hear about Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. Have you been listening to Jonathan Thomas and heard how well he's been keeping his promise? You know, he's been looking for poor Santa Claus because the Squeebobliums, who broke all the laws, kidnapped poor old Santa and hid him away. And they've looked for him now for days and days. That is Jonathan Thomas and the Man in the Moon and Gorgonzola the horse, and they must find him soon, because if they don't, it's really quite clear we just won't have any Christmas this year. Now, the good fairy queen, she gave them a charm which she said would be sure to keep them from harm. 'Twas a wonderful acorn that they had to take through the nightmare forest to keep them awake. For the nightmare forest is dark and deep, and they'd never wake up if they went to sleep. Well, they reached the forest, you remember well, and then they fell under the witch's spell. For a little white squirrel named Whiskery Bill just wouldn't behave, and he teased until poor Jonathan Thomas fell off of his horse, and then he went sound asleep, of course. Then Whiskery Bill, he cried and he cried, and he said, "It's my fault, and I'd sooner have died than hurt Jonathan Thomas, but now it's too late." But the good fairy queen said, "No, it is fate, because if you find a red, red rose and hold it close to the little boy's nose, he'll wake up again. It's quite true. But to find the rose will be up to you." So away he went in a terrible hurry, and he slipped and he slid and was all in a flurry till he met a kind walrus who said, "I'll help you out. I'll just go along. I can help you, no doubt." So he did. But their hard luck was double, for the wicked old witch was bound she'd make trouble. But they found the red rubies, and the bush grew the rose, and at last they arrived in the forest so deep and awoke Jonathan Thomas from his long, long sleep. They were soon on their way, the travelers three, bound that they'd set poor Santa Claus free. But they soon met a lion who asked them to dine when they named him O'Jagraph, which he thought very fine. And now let's see how they're getting along. Oh, my goodness, I hope nothing's wrong.
Oh, I'm much full of 3 times 3. I've never eaten such a good dinner as that one was, Mr. O'Jagraph.
Oh, you're very kind, my little man. And now, if you've eaten all that you can, I'll show you a bed where you can lay your head.
Thank you very much, Mr. O'Jagraph. But we haven't time to stop, for we must hurry like 60 or 70 or 80 to the land of Squeebobble to rescue Santa Claus.
Well, I'll give you fair warning. You'd best wait until morning and not travel when it's dark. For it's not such a lark to stumble and fall, and that's not all. But I don't know which is worse than which, the terror of night with its horrible fright, or the doings of that wicked old witch.
Well, we'll just have to take our chances.
Well, you should wait, 'cause it's late. But if you've made up your mind, and since you've been very kind, I'll give you a gift you can take.
You've already given us our dinner, Mr. O'Jagraph.
But just the same, you've given me my name, and now I'll help you out with a secret or two and some things you can do to put that old witch plumb to rout.
That would be very nice, if you please, Mr. O'Jagraph.
Sometimes that old witch drives me crazy.
Well, she even makes me a bit sore. But she's afraid of my roar. It frightens her out of her socks. So I've packed up a few, and I'll give them to you. I've put them in this little box.
Do you mean some roars?
Oh, yes. And you can't guess how she'll quickly run clear out of sight. I don't know why, but she'll scream and she'll cry. My roars always give her a fright. I only wish I had more. I could spare only 4, but that's enough to make things pretty hot.
Well, how do we use them, if you please, Mr. O'Digraph?
Well, when you see her coming, you needn't start in running, but stand right there till she lands from the air, and then open the box and throw them like rocks. Just 1 or 2, of course, not all of the 4. And she'll run and she'll shriek and be scared for a week. She always does when she hears my roar.
That's very nice of you, Mr. O'Digraph. And it'll be quite a laugh to show that old witch a thing or two.
I should say so.
We're pleased to have met you. And now we'll be on our way.
Well, I wish you success, and I guess all the rest. And I hope you have a good trip. And be careful of things such as camels with wings. And be sure not to make a slip.
We'll try, Mr. O'Digraph. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Oh, here we go through the ice and the snow, and we're in a hurry because there'll be no cheer, no Christmas this year if we don't find Santa Claus. So, Gorgonzola, giddy up, Gorgonzola dandy, and with your speed be very fast, and with your feet be handy.
And so they went and went and went and went, until their strength was nearly spent, until they came to a deep, dark wood, and they thought some rest might do them some good. So they stopped their horse, Gorgonzola, of course, and they got off and walked around. And then they sat to have a chat on a giant toadstool they had found.
Oh, my gracious, I'm so tired. Oh, I think a little bit sleep.
Jiminy Crickets, don't go to sleep. You did that once, and it took us a week to wake you up.
Oh, you needn't worry, if you please. I will go to sleep. I did that, I felt kind of sleepy.
Well, he was cheap. Then go to sleep. Don't sit around and grouse.
Who said that?
And if you had the manners of a mouse, you wouldn't sit on a person's house.
My goodness, we're not sitting on anybody's house.
You are too, if you only knew. And I'll ask you to get right off. Well, don't sit there and stare. My house is no chair, and this is no matter to laugh.
Oh, look, Mr. Man in the Moon, it's a little elf. And you shouldn't say laugh, Mr. Elf. You should say laugh.
It's laugh, if I please. And you may scoff and tease. I'll say whatever I wish. And you ought to be ashamed of yourself, you ignorant fish, because I am not just a little elf.
Well, who on earth are you then?
His Majesty, the King of any old thing. And I'll ask to be more polite, or I'll teach you to see that I'm big enough for me, you impertinent, impudent sprite.
Oh, we beg your pardon, Your Majesty, but we didn't know that Toadstool was your house.
And, boy, if you'd looked, you'd have saw.
Not have saw, Your Majesty, if you please, but have seen.
Just keep it up, and you'll start a scene. I'll talk as I please, and I'll whistle and sneeze. And if you don't like it, get out, or I'll call for a cop, and then you'll soon stop. And all I needs do is to shout.
You're not very nice. You're awfully grouchy, too, for such a little thing.
I'll have you know that I am the king, and jumping goldfish and 7 years each. Run for your lives. It's the wicked old witch. Call out the guards, roll the drums. Everybody hide, for here she comes.
Quick, Jonathan Thomas, give me the box. We'll throw a lion's roar at her. And we'll see if Mr. O'Jigraff was right.
The best you can do is get out of sight. Well, how do you do? It looks like I've caught up with you. I told you and warned you you'd better turn back. But seems that it's wisdom and good sense that you lack. So now, I guess I'll keep my promise. I've come to get you, Jonathan Thomas.
But you're not going to get me, though, you wicked old witch.
And you'd better go right back to Rumpelstitch.
You foolish one. You'll rue your words when I am done. Oh, yes, there's still another thing. I've also come after the Elfin King.
You better sow it, Mr. Man on the Moon.
Watch this, Jonathan Thomas. 1 for the money and 2 for the show. 3 to get ready, and here I go.
Help, help! Oh, stop, I say. That's no way for you to play.
And here goes another one.
Oh, I can't stand such things. As I said, it bothers my head. One ear is deaf, and the other one sings. Help! Help!
By Jiminy Crickets, and look at her go. Mr. O'Jigraff was right, for he told us so. My goodness to gracious, she's good and sore, or she can't stand a lion's roar.
It's a good thing she can't, too, or she would have got me and gobbled me up. Oh, I'm glad she didn't. Where did His Majesty go, Mr. Man in the Moon?
I don't know.
Is she gone?
Of course she has.
Well, bless my hat. Thank you for that. Oh, such knifey rife is too much strife. And thanks to you, you've saved my life.
Oh, gee, well, it wasn't anything.
It's quite a lot to save a king. And now, I'm mighty glad you stayed, and just for that you'll both be paid, and richly too, both you and you. Just name your price, and in a thrice you'll have it before you can count up to 2.
Well, now, sounds like Jonathan Thomas and the Man in the Moon are in luck for once. For all elf kings are magic, you know, and maybe this one will have something to help them go to the land of Squeebobble. Oh, I hope so, don't you? I wonder what they'll ask for. Well, I guess we'll find out in the next story of Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon. So don't forget to listen, will you? I won't.
Well, that is it for this episode of Airchecks. Tune in the next episode for more of Jonathan Thomas and his Christmas on the Moon as we finish off every episode. Airchecks is a 3-hour podcast uploaded every Saturday and Sunday. See you at the same time and the same channel.